first sign that reality was breaking came at 3:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. NASA's Deep Space Network detected anomalies that made no sense. Gravitational distortions appearing simultaneously above New York, Beijing, Moscow, Dubai, and the South China Sea. Not meteors, not satellites. Something else? Something that bent space-time in ways that violated every law of physics humanity understood. This is Mission Control to all tracking stations. Dr. Sarah Chen transmitted from Houston, her voice tight with professional concern, masking deeper fear. Confirm anomaly readings. Multiple reality distortions forming in Earth's upper atmosphere. Pattern suggests reality tore open. Above Manhattan, the night sky ripped like fabric. Through the wound poured vessels that shouldn't exist. Massive triangular ships kilometers long, bristling with weapons and emanating energy signatures that overloaded every sensor pointed toward them. Venator-class star destroyers, 6 of them, emerging from hyperspace directly into Earth's orbit with the grace of falling mountains. Mayday, mayday, mayday! Air traffic control at JFK screamed as commercial flights detected the impossible. We have unidentified craft in controlled airspace. Multiple contacts, they're huge! Jesus Christ, they're... The transmission cut as electromagnetic interference from the Republic fleet scrambled communications across the eastern seaboard. 8 million New Yorkers woke to sirens, emergency broadcasts, and the sight of alien warships hanging in the sky like steel gods. But New York wasn't alone. Over Beijing, a different kind of ship emerged. Angular, predatory, distinctly not human. Separatist frigates, 12 of them, accompanied by clouds of smaller craft that sensors identified as starfighters but looked like nothing in Earth's aviation history. The Chinese military responded with immediate hostility, launching J-20 fighters that were hopelessly outclassed before they even reached engagement range. A single burst from a separatist point defense turret vaporized 3 J-20s. The message was clear. Earth's most advanced military technology was toys compared to what had just arrived. Moscow's rift brought something different, not ships. Not clearly, anyway. What emerged looked organic and mechanical simultaneously. Massive forms that twisted mid-air and crashed into the Siberian tundra, with impacts that registered as earthquakes. The Russian military mobilized immediately, tanks and troops racing toward crash sites while satellites painted thermal signatures that defied analysis. Cybertronians, dozens of them, Autobots and Decepticons locked in combat, their war following them through the dimensional tear into a world that had no context for their existence. Dubai's dimensional wound vomited warships and wreckage, a battle in progress that had been mid-engagement when the rift opened. Republic Venators exchanged fire with separatist frigates directly above the world's tallest building, their turbo-laser batteries turning the night sky into a light show that looked apocalyptic to the millions watching below. And in the South China Sea, the largest rift of all opened. Through it came a vessel that dwarfed even the star destroyers, a Lucra Hulk-class battleship, 3 kilometers in diameter, its ring-shaped hull rotating with mechanical precision. Accompanying it, a fleet of separatist landing craft already deploying toward Earth's surface, toward resources the droid armies needed to sustain their war machine. President James Morrison stood in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by Joint Chiefs, intelligence directors, and advisors whose faces carried shock that professional training couldn't mask. On the screens, live feeds from 6 continents showing the impossible. Options, Morrison demanded, his voice steady despite everything. Someone give me options for dealing with this. Sir, we're trying to establish communications, the Secretary of Defense replied. General Marcus Webb's decorated uniform somehow insufficient for the crisis unfolding. But we don't know their languages, their protocols, their intentions. For all we know, this is an invasion. It is an invasion, Director Patricia Reynolds from the CIA corrected, pointing at feeds showing separatist forces landing in Indonesia. Those ships aren't exploring, they're deploying ground forces, battle droids by the thousands. They're securing territory. What about the other faction? Morrison asked, gesturing at the Republic Star destroyers holding position above major cities. They haven't attacked. They're not deploying. Why? Unknown, sir. But Mr. President, we need to make decisions now. NATO is demanding coordination. China is mobilizing its entire military. Russia just put nuclear forces on high alert. If we don't control the international response, someone's going to start shooting at these aliens and make everything infinitely worse. On the display, new footage appeared, handheld cell phone video from Times Square. Through the chaos of panicking crowds and emergency vehicles, something was descending, not a ship. A single craft, small by alien standards but still massive by Earth's measure. A Republic LA-AT gunship. Its distinctive silhouette unmistakable to any Clone Wars observer, but utterly alien to humans watching in terror. The gunship landed in Times Square with precision that suggested advanced AI guidance. Its doors opened, and from it emerged figures that made the entire Situation Room go silent. Clone troopers, 20 of them in white armor marked with blue accents. They moved with military discipline, weapons raised but not firing, establishing a perimeter around their craft with professional efficiency. Behind them came two figures in robes that somehow looked both primitive and sophisticated. Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, stepped into Times Square, their lightsabers visible on their belts but not ignited. Through some kind of amplification technology, Obi-Wan's voice carried across the square. Citizens of this world, we mean no harm. We are the Galactic Republic, and we have been drawn to your planet through circumstances beyond our control. We seek peaceful contact with your governments and protection for your people from hostile forces that have arrived alongside us. The NYPD, to their credit, didn't immediately open fire, but hundreds of weapons were trained on the aliens nonetheless. Identify yourselves, a police captain shouted through a megaphone. You are in violation of U.S. airspace and are trespassing on American soil. Surrender your weapons and submit to... The transmission cut as every electronic device in Times Square suddenly displayed the same image. A hologram projected from one of the Republic Star destroyers, showing a distinguished human in military uniform, Admiral Wolf Yularen, though no one on Earth knew his name yet. People of Earth, Yularen's voice translated instantly into dozens of languages through technology that made Google Translate look primitive. My name is Admiral Yularen of the Galactic Republic Navy. We are not invaders. We are refugees from a galactic civil war that has followed us through a dimensional anomaly. We understand this is frightening. We understand you have no context for our arrival. But I assure you, the Republic seeks only peaceful coexistence while we determine how to return to our own galaxy. Then what about them? Someone in the crowd shouted, pointing at screens showing separatist forces in Indonesia deploying battle droids across fishing villages. "Those are our enemies," Yularen confirmed grimly. "The Separatist Alliance. They will not seek peaceful contact. They will exploit your world's resources, enslave your populations, and use Earth as a base to continue their war. This is why we must establish immediate cooperation with your governments. We can help you defend against the Separatists, but only if you trust us." In the White House Situation Room, Morrison looked at his advisors. Opinions fast. "It's a trap," the CIA director stated flatly. "Classic good cop, bad cop. They both want something from us. Or they're telling the truth and we just became a battleground for someone else's civil war," General Webb countered. "Sir, if even half of what we're seeing is accurate, these aliens have technology centuries beyond ours. We can't fight them. We can barely understand them. But if we ally with this republic, maybe we survive whatever's coming. And if we ally with the wrong side, then we're complicit in whatever atrocities they commit," the Secretary of State added. "Mr. President, we need time, diplomacy, understanding, not snap decisions based on fear." Morrison was about to respond when every screen in the Situation Room flashed red. Emergency alerts. Global priority. "Sir, we have massive contacts emerging over the Pacific," a military analyst reported. "New dimensional rifts. These signatures are different, not ships. They're..." The analyst stopped, staring at readings that made no sense. Over the Pacific Ocean, reality tore open for the third time. What emerged wasn't ships or fighters. It was giants, transformers, hundreds of them, Autobots and Decepticons still locked in the battle they'd been fighting when the dimensional convergence pulled them from Cybertron's orbit. They fell toward Earth's ocean, some transforming mid-descent into vehicles or aircraft, others crashing with impacts that created tsunamis visible from satellites. Optimus Prime hit the Pacific hard enough to displace water equivalent to a small nuclear detonation. His optics activated underwater, scanning surroundings that were utterly wrong. This wasn't Cybertron. This wasn't any world he recognized. This was Optimus. Ratchet's comm cut through the interference. "Where are we? These aren't Cybertronian star patterns. This isn't our universe." "I don't know, old friend," Optimus replied, transforming and rocketing toward the surface. "But we're not alone." He breached the ocean's surface and saw them. Human cities, modern architecture, technology that looked primitive but functional. And above, in the sky, ships from another universe entirely, vessels that looked biological rather than mechanical, organic curves instead of Cybertronian angles. "By the Allspark," Optimus breathed, "we've arrived in an inhabited world, and we've brought our war with us." 10 kilometers away, Megatron emerged from the Pacific with Starscream, Soundwave, and a dozen Decepticon warriors. The Decepticon leader's optics immediately identified the human cities, the primitive technology, and the vulnerability. "Perfect," Megatron growled. "A pre-spacefaring civilization, weak, exploitable. This world will provide the resources Cybertron needs, and if the Autobots try to interfere..." "Lord Megatron," Soundwave interrupted, his monotone carrying urgency. "Detecting non-Cybertronian vessels in orbit, unknown technology, sophisticated weapons, multiple factions engaged in combat." Megatron looked up at the Republic and Separatist fleets battling above Earth's atmosphere. His tactical processors analyzed weapon signatures, energy outputs, strategic positioning. These weren't humans. These were another alien civilization entirely. "Intriguing," Megatron observed. It seems we've arrived in the middle of someone else's war. Starscream, establish contact with the hostile faction. Whoever they're fighting, we'll ally with them. The enemy of this republic is a potential friend to the Decepticons. As you command, Lord Megatron, Starscream replied, already calculating how this chaos could be exploited for his own benefit. On the ocean's surface, Optimus watched Megatron's forces head toward the ships in orbit. He knew immediately what his ancient enemy was planning, alliance with whoever represented the greatest threat to the indigenous population. Autobots, Optimus transmitted to his scattered warriors. Locate each other, regroup, and find the humans. We must make contact before the Decepticons turn this world into another Cybertron, a dead planet consumed by endless war. Bumblebee's transmission came back immediately. His voice box damaged but functional through radio samples. Already on it, boss. Found a small town in California, trying not to scare them. It's not going well. In the White House Situation Room, Morrison watched the Pacific emergence with horror, spreading across his professional calm. What are those things? Giant robots, sir, General Webb said, his voice carrying disbelief. 20 to 40 feet tall, some transforming into vehicles, others maintaining humanoid form. They're fighting each other in the Pacific. Sir, one of them just transformed into what looks like a semi-truck and is heading toward the California coast. Can we stop it? With what? Small arms fire? Sir, these things are the size of buildings. They're made of metal that makes tank armor look like cardboard. Unless we're willing to use tactical nuclear weapons on our own soil, that's not an option, Morrison cut him off. Get me every expert we have on first contact protocols, linguists, xenobiologists if such a thing exists, diplomats who've handled impossible situations, and for God's sake, someone tell me we have a plan beyond hoping these aliens are friendly. In Times Square, Obi-Wan Kenobi felt a disturbance in the Force. Not dark side, not light side, something else entirely. Mechanical, ancient, powerful. Anakin, Obi-Wan said quietly, we're not the only ones who arrived on this world. I sense presences, intelligent but not organic, something I've never encountered before. Anakin's hand moved to his lightsaber. Droids? I don't think so. These feel different, more alive somehow. We need to make contact with this world's authorities quickly, before whatever else arrived makes contact first. Commander Cody approached the Jedi, his helmet scanning the crowds of terrified humans. Generals, we've established a secure perimeter, but the natives are getting aggressive. Some are fleeing, others are preparing to attack. We need extraction or reinforcements. Negative, Commander, Obi-Wan replied. We came to Earth's surface to demonstrate peaceful intent. Leaving now would undermine that. We hold position and wait for their authorities to respond properly. Sir, with respect, their authorities have pointed approximately 200 weapons at our position. That doesn't suggest diplomatic reception. Then we demonstrate patience. The first rule of diplomacy, Commander, don't shoot first. 10 blocks away, a SWAT team was setting up sniper positions with orders that were clear but terrifying. Observe, report, do not engage unless fired upon. The alien soldiers in Times Square were an unknown quantity, potentially hostile, definitely armed with weapons that looked far too advanced for comfort. Gold Leader, this is Gold 5, a sniper reported through encrypted comms. I have clear sight on what appears to be leadership figures. 2 targets in robes, possible commanders. Advise, These guys aren't pointing weapons at civilians. They're in defensive posture only. This doesn't read as hostile invasion. Copy that, Gold 5. Hold fire unless they demonstrate hostile intent. Command wants them alive for questioning, if possible. Above Earth's atmosphere, the space battle continued. Republic Star destroyers engaged separatist frigates with turbo-laser fire that looked like miniature stars detonating. Starfighters, V-wings, and vulture droids dogfought with aerial superiority that made human fighter jets look like crop dusters. And watching from high orbit, International Space Station astronauts witnessed it all with cameras broadcasting to every space agency on Earth. "Houston, this is ISS," Commander David Park transmitted, his voice carrying awe despite professional training. "We have visual confirmation. Multiple unknown vessels engaged in what appears to be full-scale combat, energy weapons, fighters we can't classify. This is Houston. This is first contact. This is actually happening." "Copy that, ISS," Mission Control replied, though their voices carried the same shock. "Record everything, every detail. Humanity is witnessing something that will change our civilization forever. Make sure we document it." In Beijing, President Xi Jinping addressed the Chinese Politburo with words that would echo through history. "We face a threat humanity has never encountered. Aliens, multiple factions, some hostile, some unknown. China must respond with strength, but also wisdom. We will not be conquered, but neither will we start a war we cannot win." In Moscow, President Volkov mobilized Russia's military while scientists analyzed wreckage from the Siberian crashes. What they found was technology that suggested civilizations millions of years ahead of Earth's development. And in the Middle East, terrorist organizations watched the chaos and saw opportunity. ISIS commanders issued statements claiming the aliens were demons sent to test the faithful. Cartels in South America began planning how to acquire alien technology for their operations. Human trafficking networks saw potential for exploitation in the chaos. Earth's corruption and evil didn't disappear with the aliens' arrival. It adapted, and that would prove to be one of humanity's greatest vulnerabilities. As dawn broke over New York, casting light on a city that would never be the same, Obi-Wan Kenobi stood in Times Square surrounded by clones, facing NYPD rifles, and watched the sun rise on a world that had just learned it wasn't alone in the universe. "Anakin," Obi-Wan said quietly, "I have a bad feeling about this." "For once, Master, we agree completely." The dimensional convergence had brought two galactic wars to Earth's doorstep, the Clone Wars, the Cybertronian War. And caught between them, 7 billion humans who'd just been forced onto a stage they didn't understand, playing roles they'd never auditioned for, in a play that could end with their extinction. The convergence was complete. The players were in position, and the real war was about to begin. The first human casualty of the alien wars occurred at 6:23 a.m. in Jakarta, Indonesia. Separatist battle droids had deployed across the Indonesian archipelago with the efficiency of a machine army that had conquered thousands of worlds. B-1 battle droids, thousands of them, marched through fishing villages with vocabulators announcing demands in languages they didn't understand, establishing control through presence and implied threat. "Roger, Roger, secure the coastal facilities. Commander says we need the resources." The Indonesian military responded with everything they had. F-16 fighters strafed droid formations with cannon fire that sparked off Durasteel armor but barely slowed the advance. Leopard 2 tanks fired armor-piercing rounds that destroyed droids but were hopelessly outnumbered, and when a company of Indonesian Marines tried to establish a defensive line outside Jakarta. The separatists deployed droidekas. The destroyer droids rolled into position, unfolded with mechanical precision, and activated shields that made modern anti-armor weapons useless. Their twin blasters opened fire with rates that exceeded any human machine gun, and 37 Indonesian Marines died in the first 10 seconds of engagement. "Fall back!" Captain Santoso screamed into his radio as his men were cut down by weapons that turned human bodies into vapor. "We can't stop them. We need..." A super battle droid's wrist blaster vaporized Santoso mid-transmission. The droid army advanced over the bodies without pause, without remorse, with the cold efficiency of machines following programming. In the White House Situation Room, Morrison watched the footage with hands clenched so tight his knuckles went white. How many casualties? Estimated 400 Indonesian military personnel, KIA, in the first 3 hours, General Webb reported, his voice carrying the strain of a career soldier watching helpless slaughter. Another 2,000 civilians dead or missing. "Sir, the Indonesians are requesting immediate military assistance. NATO allies are mobilizing. But Mr. President..." Webb pulled up tactical analysis that made the situation clear. "Our weapons barely scratch those droids. A Leopard 2 can destroy them, but it takes multiple hits, and they outnumber any force we can deploy. The shield-equipped variants are immune to conventional arms, and sir, that's just their ground forces. We haven't even addressed the ships in orbit that could glass cities from space if they wanted." "What about the Republic?" Morrison demanded. "They claim to oppose these separatists. Are they helping?" "Unknown, sir. Their forces are holding position in orbit above major cities, but not engaging. It's like they're waiting for something." What the Republic was waiting for became clear when Admiral Ulleren's holographic transmission appeared simultaneously in every government building across Earth. UN headquarters, the Pentagon, the Kremlin, Zhongnanhai in Beijing, houses of Parliament in London. Every seat of power received the same message. "Leaders of Earth, I am Admiral Wolf Ullaren of the Galactic Republic. You are witnessing an attack by the Confederacy of Independent Systems, what we call separatists. They are a droid army backed by corporate interests and led by individuals who value profit over life. They will consume your world's resources, enslave your populations if they prove useful, and discard you if you resist." Ullaren's image shifted, showing footage of worlds the separatists had conquered during the Clone Wars. Planets stripped of resources, populations displaced or destroyed, entire civilizations ground under the boot of droid occupation. The Galactic Republic has fought this enemy for 3 years across thousands of star systems. We know their tactics, we know their weaknesses, and we can teach you how to fight them, but we need your cooperation. We need access to your communication networks to coordinate defense. We need your trust." He paused, letting the weight settle. "I understand trust is earned, not given. So let me demonstrate our commitment. The Republic will deploy forces to defend Indonesia against separatist aggression. We will do this with or without your permission, because allowing genocide while we have the power to prevent it violates everything the Jedi and the Republic stand for. But we would prefer to do this with your cooperation, with your soldiers fighting alongside ours, with your government's understanding that we are not conquerors. We are allies facing a common threat." The transmission ended. In the UN Security Council chamber, pandemonium erupted. The Chinese ambassador demanded guarantees that Republic intervention wouldn't become occupation. The Russian ambassador insisted any alien military action on Earth required Security Council approval. The American ambassador argued that people were dying right now, and bureaucratic process was a luxury they couldn't afford. Enough! The Secretary General slammed his gavel, his normally diplomatic composure cracking. Indonesia is requesting immediate assistance. Hundreds are dead. Thousands more will die if we debate protocols while an invasion is underway. Does anyone object to accepting the Republic's offer of military aid? Silence. Because objecting meant being the person who let people die for politics. Then it settled. Inform Admiral Ularen that Earth... He paused, recognizing the absurdity of speaking for the entire planet. That the United Nations accepts the Galactic Republic's assistance in defending Indonesia from separatist aggression. In orbit above Earth, Ularen received the transmission and allowed himself the smallest smile. The first step was complete. Now came the hard part. All Republic forces, Ularen commanded across encrypted channels, deploy to Indonesian territory. Rules of engagement. Separatist forces are hostile. Indigenous forces are to be treated as allies unless they demonstrate hostile intent. Civilian casualties are unacceptable. Jedi generals, you have tactical command. Show these humans what the Republic stands for. In Times Square, Obi-Wan Kenobi received the deployment order with mixed feelings. They'd just been authorized to intervene in Earth's conflicts. But what did that make them? Saviors? Invaders? Something in between. Anakin, we're moving to Indonesia, Obi-Wan stated, gesturing for Commander Cody to prep the gunship. The Separatists are slaughtering civilians and Earth's military can't stop them. Finally, Anakin replied, his impatience with diplomatic waiting clearly visible. Master, these people need help. Let's show them what Jedi can do. The LAAT gunship lifted from Times Square with clone troopers secured and Jedi ready for deployment. Around them, NYPD and military forces held fire, but every weapon tracked the alien craft. As it ascended into the sky with speed no human aircraft could match. They're leaving, a police captain reported. Should we pursue? With what? Another officer replied, watching the gunship disappear toward the horizon. Call in fighter jets? Those things are faster than anything we have. No, we hold position and report. Let the brass figure out what comes next. What came next was arrival. The Republic deployment to Indonesia was swift, coordinated, and overwhelming. 3 Venator-class star destroyers positioned over Jakarta, launching squadrons of L-8T gunships that descended through Earth's atmosphere with precision that made military analysts weep with envy. Clone troopers, the 212th Battalion under Commander Cody, the 501st under Captain Rex, and the Coruscant Guard under Commander Fox, deployed with Jedi leadership and military discipline that dwarfed Earth's most elite forces. The Indonesian military, still reeling from losses against the separatist droids, watched in shock as the Republic forces arrived. White-armored soldiers with weapons that looked both futuristic and practical, and among them the Jedi, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and to Indonesian General Prabowo's surprise, a young Togruta named Ahsoka Tano. General Prabowo, Obi-Wan greeted through translation technology that rendered his basic into perfect Indonesian. I am Jedi General Obi-Wan Kenobi. My forces are here to assist in repelling the separatist invasion. If you'll share your tactical situation, we can coordinate our response. Prabowo, a career officer who'd seen combat across Southeast Asia, studied the alien general with eyes that had learned to assess threats quickly. What he saw was a warrior who moved with confidence but not arrogance, who offered assistance without condescension, who treated Indonesian sovereignty with respect despite commanding vastly superior forces. General Kenobi, Prabowo replied carefully, We've lost 400 soldiers trying to stop those machines. Our weapons barely damage them. The shield-equipped variants are immune to everything we've thrown at them. How do you propose we fight an enemy our technology can't harm?" Obi-Wan gestured to a tactical display one of the clones had set up, showing real-time positions of separatist forces. Droidekas, the shield variants, are powerful but have weaknesses. Their shields don't extend below their base. Explosives planted beneath them can destroy them. Their shields also have recharge limits. Sustained fire from multiple angles drains them faster than they can regenerate. He zoomed in on a droid formation. B-1 battle droids are numerous but fragile. Your armor-piercing rounds can destroy them with center mass hits. B-2 super battle droids are tougher. They require concentrated fire or heavier weapons. But both types have a critical weakness. They're predictable. They follow tactical programming that prioritizes efficiency over adaptation. Create chaos, force them into situations their programming doesn't cover, and they make mistakes. Anakin stepped forward, his aggressive nature evident even in diplomatic settings. "General, we've been fighting these things for 3 years. We know how they think. We know how they die. Let us take point. Your forces provide support and secure civilians. Together, we can push them back." Prabowo looked at his own tactical officers, seeing in their faces the same calculation he was making. Pride said, "Refuse alien help." Survival said, "Accept any advantage available." "What do you need from us?" Prabowo asked, making the choice. "Coordinate evacuation of civilians from combat zones," Obi-Wan replied. "Provide logistics support for our forces. We'll need refueling and resupply. And most importantly, show us where the separatists are concentrated. We'll handle the rest." The Indonesian military had never operated alongside aliens before, but in the next 6 hours they learned what the Galactic Republic had perfected across a galaxy: combined arms warfare that blended clone precision, Jedi abilities, and local knowledge into overwhelming tactical superiority. The counterattack began at 2 p.m. Jakarta time. Republic LAAT gunships strafed separatist positions with door-mounted blasters that tore through droid formations. Clone troopers deployed from low-altitude drops, hitting the ground in coordinated squads that immediately engaged with weapons designed specifically to fight droids, and leading every assault, Jedi. Obi-Wan Kenobi moved through a droid formation like water flowing around stones. His blue lightsaber deflected blaster bolts with Sorsu precision, sending shots back into droids that had fired them. He used the Force to collapse structures onto droid positions, creating chaos that Indonesian soldiers exploited with RPG fire that finished what the Jedi started. Anakin Skywalker fought with Gem, so aggression that made combat look like art. His attacks were powerful, direct, overwhelming. He carved through super battle droids with strikes that shattered durasteel, used force pushes to clear entire streets of battle, droids, and moved with speed that made him nearly impossible to target. And Ahsoka Tano, young but deadly, demonstrated why Padawans were still formidable warriors. Her dual lightsabers created a whirlwind of blue plasma that cut through droids with acrobatic precision. She used her smaller size as an advantage, moving through spaces that would have trapped the larger Jedi, striking from angles droids didn't anticipate. Captain Rex led the 501st in a textbook assault on a droideka position. "Thermal detonators on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." A dozen thermal detonators, Republic grenades far more powerful than anything Earth manufactured, landed beneath droidekas simultaneously. The explosions bypassed their shields, destroying the droids from below, just as Obi-Wan had predicted. "Advance," Rex commanded, and clone troopers pushed forward with discipline, that Indonesian Marines, watching from supporting positions, recognized as the mark of elite soldiers. "They're good," an Indonesian sergeant muttered, watching clones clear a street in under 3 minutes. "They're better than good," his captain replied. "They're professional, every movement coordinated, no wasted shots, no panic. They've done this 1,000 times before." By 6 p.m., the separatist advance had stalled. By 8 p.m., it was reversing. And by midnight, droid forces were in full retreat, pulling back to their landing zones under covering fire from separatist frigates in orbit. The Battle of Jakarta was a Republic victory. Indonesian casualties, 37 additional soldiers killed in the counterattack, but hundreds saved by the intervention. Separatist casualties, over 2,000 battle droids destroyed. And most importantly, civilian casualties had been minimized to dozens rather than thousands. But while the Republic was winning hearts and minds in Indonesia, on the other side of the world, the Decepticons were making very different first impressions. In California, Bumblebee had found the small town of Tranquility, population 8,000, far enough from major cities to avoid immediate panic. He'd transformed into a yellow Camaro and tried to blend in while assessing the situation. It wasn't working. "Dude, that car just moved by itself." A teenager with a cell phone was filming Bumblebee from across a parking lot. "It's a freaking robot. I'm not kidding. It just..." Bumblebee's audio receptors picked up the human's distress, and he tried to respond with radio samples, his damaged voice box making normal speech impossible. "I'm not gonna hurt you." The samples came from a movie, a children's show, and a pop song, respectively, stitched together into something vaguely reassuring but deeply unsettling to human ears. "Oh God, it's talking!" The teenager backed away. "Someone call the cops, call the military, call someone." Within minutes, Tranquility's small police force arrived. Within an hour, National Guard units were mobilizing. Within 2 hours, a military cordon surrounded the small Autobot, who'd transformed to robot mode and was trying to communicate peaceful intentions through increasingly desperate radio samples. "I come in peace, please don't shoot." Bumblebee's hands raised in universal gesture of surrender. But to humans, seeing a 20-foot robot for the first time, the gesture looked more threatening than peaceful. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, California National Guard," a voice boomed through a megaphone. "You are surrounded. Power down and surrender, or we will open fire." Bumblebee tried to explain that he didn't have a power down option, that Cybertronians didn't work like human machines. But his radio samples couldn't convey complex technical information. "Last warning, surrender, or hold your fire," a new voice cut through the standoff. Optimus Prime emerged from the tree line in robot mode, his massive frame making Bumblebee look small by comparison. "Humans of Earth, I am Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. We mean you no harm. We are refugees from a war that has raged for millions of years. We seek only sanctuary and..." A nervous National Guard soldier fired. One shot. The 5.56mm round pinged harmlessly off Optimus's chest armor, but the psychological damage was done. The humans had fired first. "Prime." Bumblebee's alarm was clear even through radio samples. "They're hostile. What do we..." "We stand down," Optimus stated firmly, his voice carrying authority that transcended species. "We do not return fire. We do not harm them. They are afraid. Responding with violence will only confirm their fears." Lieutenant Colonel Hayes watched in shock as the giant robot, who could have slaughtered his entire unit, simply stood there absorbing fire that was increasing as more nervous soldiers joined in. "Cease fire," Hayes commanded. "Cease fire immediately." The shooting stopped. Silence fell over Tranquility, broken only by the sound of spent brass hitting pavement. "Humans," Optimus said, his voice carrying sadness. I understand your fear, but please understand, we are not your enemies. We are Autobots, guardians, protectors. We have fought for millions of years to protect sentient life from those who would destroy it. And we have just arrived in your world, seeking refuge from a war that has consumed our own. Why should we believe you? Hayes shouted back, his rifle still raised despite everything. Because if I wished you harm, Optimus replied gently, I would not be standing here allowing you to shoot me. I would have already neutralized your forces and moved on. But I am not here to conquer, I am here to protect. That is what Autobots do. It is what we have always done. The standoff continued for another hour before FBI and Pentagon liaisons arrived to take over. But the damage was done. The internet had exploded with footage of giant robots in California. Panic spread across the West Coast, and humanity's introduction to the Autobots was marked by violence, even if the violence had been one-sided. While Optimus dealt with frightened humans in California, Megatron was making very different contact on the other side of the world. The Decepticon leader had flown to orbit and made contact with the Separatist fleet using universal mathematical signals that transcended language barriers. What followed was a conversation between two faction leaders who recognized kindred spirits, beings who valued power over principles, who saw conquest as natural, who understood that mercy was a weakness. I am Megatron, the Decepticon announced through hastily established translation protocols. Leader of the Decepticons, I propose an alliance. You require resources, we require territory. The indigenous population is weak but numerous. Together we can subjugate this world and use it as a base for both our wars. The holographic projection of Count Dooku studied the mechanical being with aristocratic interest. I am Count Dooku of Sereno, leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Your proposal has merit, but I question what you offer beyond simple military force. We have droid armies. What makes your Decepticons superior? Because we are not droids, Megatron replied. We are Cybertronians, living machines with millions of years of evolution and warfare experience. We can adapt, we can think, we can infiltrate, and most importantly, we share your philosophy, the strong rule, the weak serve or perish. Dooku's expression showed approval. Then we have an accord. My separatist forces will provide you with information on this world's governments and military capabilities. You will provide shock troops for operations that require overwhelming force. Together we'll crush both the Republic and these primitive humans before they can mount effective resistance. Agreed, Megatron confirmed. But know this, Dooku, when this world is conquered, the Decepticons will remember who stood with us and who stood against us. Choose your loyalties carefully. The transmission ended. The alliance was formed. Decepticons and Separatists, two civilizations from different universes, united by shared contempt for those they deemed inferior. And in the Pentagon's Crisis Coordination Center, analysts piecing together intercepted communications realized with horror what had just happened. Sir, a signals intelligence officer reported to General Webb, we've detected communications between the hostile alien faction and those giant robots. Mathematical patterns suggest negotiation. Energy signatures suggest both parties reached an agreement. Sir, I think they just formed an alliance. Webb felt cold dread settle in his gut. The Republic said these Decepticons are hostile. If they've allied with the Separatists, then Earth is caught between two alien factions, the intelligence officer finished. One offering to defend us, one planning to conquer us, and we still don't know which one to trust. In the White House Situation Room, President Morrison faced the reality that the dimensional convergence had forced on humanity. Earth was now a pawn in someone else's war. The question wasn't whether to fight. The enemy had made that choice for them. The question was who to fight beside. "Get me Admiral Yularen," Morrison ordered, "and get me Optimus Prime. If we're going to survive this, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with, all of it. No more dancing around with diplomatic language. I want the truth about these wars, these factions, and what they want from Earth." As dawn broke over a planet that would never be the same, three truths became clear. First, the Republic had proven themselves in combat and earned tentative human trust. Second, the Decepticons and Separatists were actively hostile and planning conquest. Third, humanity was hopelessly outmatched and would need allies to survive. The convergence had brought war to Earth. Now humanity had to decide how to fight it. The emergency summit took place in Geneva, chosen for its neutrality and symbolic significance as the birthplace of international cooperation. But nothing about this summit was normal. In a heavily secured conference hall designed for human diplomacy, world leaders sat across from beings from two different galaxies. Admiral Yularen represented the Galactic Republic via hologram from orbit. Optimus Prime stood at one end of the room, his massive frame requiring structural reinforcement to the building itself. And Obi-Wan Kenobi sat among human delegates with a calm that made some leaders wonder if Jedi mind tricks were real. President Morrison opened the summit with words that would define humanity's entry into galactic politics. "We didn't ask for this war. We didn't invite you here, but you're here and people are dying and we need answers. Starting with the most important question, what do you want from Earth?" "Nothing," Optimus Prime replied, his voice carrying sincerity that translation software couldn't fabricate. "The Autobots seek only refuge while we determine how to return to our own universe. We have no interest in your resources, your territory, or your governance. We wish only to coexist peacefully until we can repair the dimensional damage that brought us here." "And if you can't return?" China's President Xi challenged. "If you're stuck here permanently, what then?" "Then we adapt," Optimus stated simply. "The Autobots have been refugees before. We've lived among other species. We've learned to coexist. Earth would not be conquered or changed. It would simply have new inhabitants committed to defending it from those who would harm it." "Like the Decepticons," Britain's Prime Minister observed. "Your enemies, who've allied with these separatists. Tell us about them." Optimus's optics dimmed slightly, a Cybertronian expression of grief. "The Decepticons were once my brothers. We fought together for freedom from oppression. But Megatron became what we fought against, a tyrant who believes might makes right, who sees all other species as inferior, who would enslave your world without hesitation." "He's already tried," General Webb interjected, displaying intelligence reports. "We've detected Decepticon scouts in the Middle East, Africa, and South America. They're not hiding. They're assessing our military capabilities and resource deposits. Everything suggests they're planning large-scale operations." "Which is why we must act quickly," Admiral Yularen's hologram stated. "The Separatist-Decepticon alliance represents an existential threat, not just to Earth but to any hope of peaceful coexistence. The Republic proposes a formal defensive pact. We share military technology and tactical intelligence. You provide local knowledge and resources. Together we defend Earth from conquest." Russia's President Volkov leaned forward, his expression skeptical. "And after the threat is eliminated, when the Separatists and Decepticons are defeated, Do the Republic forces simply leave? That depends, Obi-Wan replied carefully, on whether the dimensional damage can be repaired, on whether safe passage home exists. But I can tell you the Republic's philosophy: we don't occupy worlds. We don't impose governance. We defend those who cannot defend themselves and support their right to self-determination. Pretty words, Volkov countered, but actions matter more. You deployed military forces to Indonesia without asking permission. You established orbit positions over our major cities without negotiation. These are not the actions of guests. These are the actions of occupiers who simply haven't admitted it yet. The room tensed. Human delegates murmured agreement with Volkov's challenge. Even those inclined to trust the Republic couldn't deny the optics were problematic. Anakin Skywalker, standing near Obi-Wan, bristled at the accusation. We saved thousands of lives in Indonesia. Would you rather we'd asked permission while people died? We would rather you'd respected our sovereignty, India's Prime Minister replied firmly. Mr. Skywalker, we appreciate the assistance, but unilateral military intervention sets dangerous precedents. What happens when the Republic decides our governments are corrupt? When your Jedi determine our laws are unjust? Do you intervene then too? Impose your values through superior force? The question struck at the heart of Republic philosophy and its hypocrisy. For 3 years, the Republic had justified military action across the galaxy to protect democracy while ignoring corporate corruption within its own Senate. The Clone Wars had been fought with moral certainty, but that certainty was easier to maintain when you could leave troubled systems behind. Earth was different. Earth demanded accountability because there was nowhere to leave to. Obi-Wan spoke into the uncomfortable silence. You're right, we did act without full consultation. In our defense, the situation was urgent and your communication infrastructure was overwhelmed. But Prime Minister, you've identified a legitimate concern. If we're to work together, we need clear protocols about when Republic forces can act independently and when we need your authorization. Suggested framework, Secretary General Martinez proposed, sensing an opportunity. Republic forces may respond to immediate threats to prevent mass casualties, but sustained operations require UN Security Council approval. This preserves your operational flexibility while respecting our sovereignty. Acceptable, Yularen confirmed after a pause for consideration. The Republic will operate under those constraints. As will the Autobots, Optimus added. We have no desire to undermine your authority. We seek partnership, not primacy. The tension eased slightly, but it was Japan's Prime Minister who asked the question everyone was thinking. What about your enemies? The Separatists and Decepticons won't respect our sovereignty. How do we fight forces that outmatch our military so completely? You don't, Anakin stated bluntly, earning a sharp look from Obi-Wan. What? It's true. Their weapons are centuries beyond yours. Their ships can glass cities from orbit. Their soldiers, droids, and Decepticons are immune to most of what you can throw at them. You can't fight them conventionally. So we're just supposed to hide behind your protection? Brazil's president challenged, national pride evident. Become wards of alien powers. No, Optimus Prime interrupted, his voice carrying authority that made even heads of state listen. You become partners who contribute differently. Your world has 7 billion people, vast industrial capacity, resources we need, and something neither the Republic nor the Autobots possess. Knowledge of this planet, its terrain, its people. You can't match our military technology, but you can provide intelligence, logistics, and support that makes our forces exponentially more effective. He paused, letting the words settle. The Autobots have fought the Decepticons for millions of years. We've learned that victory comes not from superior weapons, but from superior purpose. The Decepticons fight for domination. We fight for freedom. That difference, that moral clarity, is worth more than any weapon. If Earth's nations unite behind the principle of defending freedom, that's a force even Megatron cannot overcome. General Webb studied the massive Autobot with professional respect. Pretty speech, but I need specifics. How do we actually implement this partnership? What does joint operations look like when our forces are this mismatched? Like Indonesia, Obi-Wan replied. Republic forces handled direct combat against droids. Indonesian military provided logistics, crowd control, and local intelligence. Together, we accomplished in hours what neither could have done alone. We can expand that model, Commander Cody added, the clone officer having been granted permission to attend. Clone troopers train your special forces in anti-droid tactics. Your militaries provide base access and resupply infrastructure. Jedi work with your intelligence agencies to identify separatist infiltration. Autobots integrate with your mechanized units to provide mobile fire support. You're describing full military integration, China's defense minister observed. That requires trust we haven't established. How do we know your clone soldiers won't turn on us? How do we know these Autobots won't decide human governance is inefficient and impose their own? You don't, Optimus admitted with characteristic honesty. Trust cannot be demanded. It must be earned through consistent action. But consider, the Autobots have existed for millions of years. If we sought to conquer lesser species, we've had countless opportunities. Instead, we've chosen to defend them. Our history is our credential. And the Republic's history, Volkov pressed, 3 years of galactic civil war suggests you're not as peaceful as claimed. The Clone Wars began when the Separatists attacked. Yularen defended. We've fought defensive actions to protect Republic member worlds from conquest and slavery. Yes, we've made mistakes. War brings out the worst in all civilizations. But our intent has been consistent: defend democracy from authoritarian aggression. Which is exactly what we face here, Secretary General Martinez stated, steering conversation back to practical concerns. The Separatist Decepticon alliance represents authoritarian aggression on a planetary scale. Philosophical debates about trust are luxuries we can't afford while they're actively attacking. I propose we table concerns about long-term alliance structures and focus on immediate threat response. President Morrison nodded agreement. Specific question: can we win? If every nation on Earth commits fully to this defense, if we accept Republic and Autobot support, can we actually defeat the Separatists and Decepticons? The room fell silent as everyone waited for the answer. Yes, Optimus stated, but victory requires 3 things. First, unity. If Earth's nations fight separately, you'll be defeated in detail. United, you present a challenge even the Decepticons will struggle to overcome. Second, adaptation. You must learn to fight with technology and tactics you've never encountered. Your military doctrines need rapid evolution. Third, sacrifice. People will die. Cities may burn. But if you accept those costs and fight together, you can prevail. How many casualties are we talking about? Britain's Prime Minister asked quietly. Unknown, Obi-Wan replied with Jedi honesty. War is unpredictable, but to provide context, the Clone Wars have cost billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Earth represents a single planet. If we act decisively, casualties can be minimized to thousands rather than millions. If we hesitate, allow the enemy to establish strongholds, the cost escalates dramatically. Thousands dead is minimizing casualties, India's Prime Minister said with horror. compared to genocide, Anakin shot back. Yes, look, I get it. You're not used to this scale of warfare, but the Separatists conquered entire systems by killing or enslaving everyone who resisted. Thousands dead defending Earth means billions saved. That's the math of war. The bluntness made several delegates uncomfortable, but no one could argue with the logic. Then we accept your proposal, Morrison stated, looking around the room at other world leaders. UN Security Council will vote on formal defensive pact with the Galactic Republic and the Autobots. I expect it to pass unanimously because the alternative is unthinkable. But I want specific agreements documented, command structures, rules of engagement, technology transfer protocols. This isn't a blank check. Understood, Yularen confirmed. Republic legal advisors will work with your UN representatives to formalize the arrangement. Autobots will do the same, Optimus added. We fight beside you, not above you. As the summit moved to technical discussions about base sharing and communication protocols, Ahsoka Tano, who'd been observing quietly from the side, leaned toward Obi-Wan. Master Kenobi, these humans, they're scared but trying to be brave. They remind me of Padawans facing their first real combat. An apt comparison, Obi-Wan replied quietly. They've just learned the universe is far more dangerous than they imagined. How they respond to that knowledge will define their civilization's future. We must guide them carefully, Ahsoka. Earth is not Ryloth or Christophsis. We can't simply liberate it and leave. These people will live with the consequences of our presence for generations. Meanwhile, in a very different meeting, taking place simultaneously in an abandoned factory outside Damascus, Syria, the Decepticon Separatist Alliance was making plans that would test Earth's new coalition before it could properly form. Megatron stood in holographic conference with Count Dooku, General Grievous, and Starscream. Between them, tactical displays showed Earth's military deployments, resource deposits, and political fault lines. The Republic has secured support from Earth's governments, Dooku reported. They're moving to formalize defensive pacts. If we allow this alliance to solidify, removing them becomes significantly more difficult. Then we don't allow it, Megatron stated. We strike now, hard, fast, create casualties that make the humans question whether the Republic can actually protect them. Target selection? Starscream asked, his opportunistic nature already calculating how this could elevate his own status. Megatron pointed to locations on the map. Here, here, and here. Simultaneous attacks on 3 continents. Military targets in North America. Industrial targets in Europe. Population centers in Asia. Force the Republic to choose what to defend. When they can't protect everything, human faith in their alien saviors will crack. And the Autobots? Grievous asked, his vocabulator carrying anticipation. Optimus Prime represents a significant variable. Leave Optimus to me, Megatron replied. We've fought for millions of years. I know his weaknesses. He'll sacrifice tactical advantage for moral principle every time. We exploit that. Create situations where saving human lives means abandoning strategic positions. Force him to choose between victory and virtue. Elegant, Dooku acknowledged. But what of the Jedi? They're formidable opponents. My forces have struggled against them for years. Then we'll provide support, Megatron offered. Decepticons are immune to their Force abilities. We can engage Jedi directly while your droids handle conventional forces, division of labor based on capabilities. When do we strike? Dooku asked. 72 hours, Megatron decided. Gives us time to position forces and gives the humans just enough time to feel safe in their new alliance. Fear is most effective when it follows hope. The transmission ended. The plan was set, and Earth had 3 days before learning that formal alliances meant nothing against enemies who'd perfected warfare across millions of years. But while the summit focused on external threats, a more insidious danger was developing within Earth's own institutions. In the Pentagon, CIA headquarters, and intelligence agencies across the world, a disturbing pattern was emerging. "Sir, you need to see this," FBI Director Patricia Reynolds told President Morrison in a secured briefing. "We've been investigating communication patterns since the aliens arrived. Who's talking to whom? What's being discussed? And we've found something troubling." She displayed intercepted communications that painted a damning picture. Military contractors reaching out to separatist contacts, offering intelligence in exchange for access to advanced technology. Corporate executives discussing how to profit from alien presence. Even government officials, low-level but present, exploring arrangements with the Decepticons. "Treason," Morrison stated flatly. "People are selling out their own species for profit." "It's worse than that, sir," Reynolds continued. "Some aren't doing it for money. They're ideological. They believe the separatists or Decepticons offer better governance than human democracies. That alien technology could solve all our problems if we'd just submit to their authority. We're talking about collaboration with entities planning to enslave us, and they're doing it willingly." Morrison felt sick. "How widespread?" "Still assessing, but Mr. President, this goes beyond individual corruption. We're seeing patterns that suggest organized efforts, possibly coordinated by the aliens themselves. The separatists have used this tactic before, identify disaffected elements of a society and exploit them to undermine resistance from within. Recommendations? Immediate purge. Anyone with suspected alien contact gets investigated. Anyone confirmed collaborating gets arrested. We make examples that send a message. Betraying humanity means consequences. "Do it," Morrison ordered quietly. "I don't want panic about fifth columns. But Director, be thorough. Root out every collaborator. I won't let humanity lose because some short-sighted idiots think the grass is greener under alien occupation." The purge began that night. FBI, CIA, and military intelligence operatives moved simultaneously across the United States. Arrests in the Pentagon, raids on defense contractor offices, detention of government officials who'd shown suspicious behavior, and the same scene played out globally. Chinese Ministry of State Security arrested officials who'd made contact with separatist intermediaries. Russian FSB detained military officers who'd been selling intelligence. Britain's MI5 uncovered a network planning to sabotage the alliance with the Republic. The corruption ran deeper than anyone had imagined. Thousands arrested worldwide, millions more under investigation, and the interrogations revealed something that made even hardened intelligence professionals pause. Many collaborators genuinely believed they were helping humanity by facilitating alien conquest. "I was ensuring we'd be treated well," a captured Pentagon analyst explained during interrogation. "The separatists are going to win. Their technology is too advanced. I was protecting my family by making sure we'd be valued subjects instead of slaves." "You're not protecting them," the interrogator replied coldly. "You're ensuring they'll live under tyrants who view humans as resources to exploit. You've betrayed every principle your country stands for." "My country is doomed," the analyst shot back. "I chose survival over ideology. History will prove me right." The interrogator left the room feeling deeply disturbed, not by the analyst's treason, but by his absolute conviction. How many others thought the same way? How many saw collaboration as pragmatism rather than betrayal? But while human corruption was being addressed, another threat emerged that no intelligence agency had anticipated: The aliens were targeting Earth's terrorist organizations for very different purposes. In northern Syria, ISIS commanders received a holographic transmission from a source that identified itself only as Soundwave. The Decepticon communications specialist made an offer: advanced weapons in exchange for cooperation in destabilizing human governments. "Your organization fights for religious dominance," Soundwave stated in perfect Arabic. "The Decepticons respect strength, assist us in creating chaos, and when this world is conquered, your people will be granted territory to govern as you wish." The ISIS commander, a man who'd executed thousands in the name of ideology, studied the alien hologram with fanatics' calculation. "You offer weapons. What kind?" Soundwave transmitted specifications that made the commander's eyes widen. Energy weapons that could vaporize armored vehicles, explosives with yields that exceeded nuclear devices, technology that would make ISIS unstoppable against human militaries. "What do you require in return?" the commander asked. "Create chaos," Soundwave replied simply. "Attack refugee centers protected by Republic forces. Target human governments cooperating with the Autobots. Force the aliens to divert resources, protecting civilians instead of fighting us. You destabilize. We conquer. Everyone benefits." The commander smiled. "Allah has sent us allies from the stars. We accept." Similar conversations happened across the world. The Decepticons reached out to cartels in South America, offering advanced transportation technology in exchange for disrupting supply lines. They contacted human trafficking networks, providing tools to evade law enforcement in exchange for intelligence on human population movements. They even approached environmental terrorists, promising to help cleanse the planet of industrial pollution if they'd sabotage infrastructure supporting the military alliance. The Decepticons understood something the Republic didn't. Every civilization had elements that would betray it for the right price. Find those elements, arm them, aim them at your enemies. Let humans weaken themselves while you prepared the final blow. But the Republic was learning too. Jedi Master Mace Windu, assigned to work with Earth's intelligence agencies, detected the pattern through the Force. There's coordination. These terrorist attacks aren't random. Someone's organizing them, providing support. The Decepticons, CIA Director Reynolds confirmed. "We've intercepted communications. They're arming everyone who will take their weapons. ISIS, cartels, traffickers, even fringe political movements. They're weaponizing our own corruption against us." "Then we target the source," Mace stated. "These terrorist organizations can't fight if their suppliers are eliminated. Locate the Decepticons providing support. My Jedi and your special forces will handle the rest." What followed was a campaign Earth's intelligence agencies had dreamed about but never implemented. Coordinated global counter-terrorism operations with the resources to actually win. Jedi could sense dark-side corruption, and terrorist leaders often carried that taint. Special forces operators with Republic weapons technology could eliminate targets conventional operations couldn't touch. And clone intelligence specialists brought centuries of experience fighting guerrilla warfare across a galaxy. The first strike hit an ISIS camp in Iraq. Navy SEALs, equipped with Republic blasters and guided by Jedi Master Kit Fisto, eliminated the entire leadership cell in under 8 minutes. No casualties on the assault team, no civilian collateral damage, just surgical precision that left intelligence agencies stunned. "How?" a CIA analyst asked, reviewing footage of Jedi deflecting bullets while SEALs cleared compounds. "Training and technology," Commander Cody explained, having overseen the operation. "Your special forces are already elite. Give them weapons that don't need reloading and allies who can sense danger before it manifests, and they become nearly unstoppable. The second strike targeted a cartel's stronghold in Colombia. Delta Force operators, supported by clone commandos and Jedi Knight Isla Secura, dismantled a trafficking network that had operated with impunity for decades. Survivors were handed over to Colombian authorities with evidence that ensured convictions. "This is what we could have been doing all along," a DEA agent said with frustration. "If we'd had this support, this technology, these allies, how many lives could we have saved?" "You have it now," Ayla replied gently. "Use it wisely." The campaign expanded. Chinese special forces with clone advisors eliminated Uyghur separatist cells that had been armed by the Decepticons. Russian Spetsnaz, guided by Jedi Master Plo Koon, neutralized Chechen terrorists who'd accepted alien weapons. British SAS dismantled human trafficking networks across Eastern Europe with Republic intelligence support. For the first time in human history, the forces of law and order had decisive advantages over the forces of chaos, and they were using those advantages with ruthless efficiency. But every action had consequences, and as terrorist organizations fell, as corruption was purged, as humanity's darkest elements were systematically eliminated, new problems emerged. "Sir, we're getting pushback," Director Reynolds reported to Morrison. "Human rights organizations are concerned about due process. The arrests happened too fast. The raids were too effective. People are asking how we knew exactly where to strike, who to target." "The Jedi sensed them," Morrison replied. "That's the truth." "That's also terrifying, sir. It means the Jedi can detect thoughts, identify enemies through mystical means we can't verify or challenge. What happens when they decide someone's a threat based purely on Force senses? Do we just accept their word? Execute people because a Jedi felt darkness?" Morrison had no good answer, because Reynolds was right. The purge was working. Corruption and terrorism were being eliminated with unprecedented efficiency. But the methods raised questions about liberty, justice, and the price humanity was paying for alien assistance. "We'll address it after the immediate threat is eliminated," Morrison decided. "Right now, separatists and Decepticons are planning attacks. We need every advantage. But Director, document everything. When this crisis ends, we'll need to have hard conversations about how much power we're comfortable giving our alien allies." "If the crisis ends, sir." "It will," Morrison stated, with confidence he didn't entirely feel, because the alternative is extinction, and humanity has survived worse before. 3 days after the Geneva summit, as Earth's militaries trained with Republic forces and Autobots, integrated with armored divisions, Megatron launched his coordinated assault, and the world learned that alliances on paper meant nothing against enemies who'd perfected the art of war across millions of years. The attacks came at dawn across 3 continents, timed to maximize chaos and minimize response time. In Colorado Springs, home to NORAD and U.S. Northern Command, Decepticon seekers screamed out of the pre-dawn sky faster than radar could track. Starscream led the assault personally, his null-ray cannons charging as Peterson Space Force Base appeared in his targeting systems. "Pathetic," Starscream sneered, transforming mid-dive and unleashing energy blasts that vaporized F-35s before they could scramble. "These humans think their primitive aircraft can challenge Cybertronian superiority." His wingmates, Thundercracker and Skywarp, followed with clinical precision, their weapons reducing hangars to molten slag and control towers to rubble. Within 90 seconds, Peterson's ability to coordinate North American aerospace defense was crippled. "Lord Megatron, the command infrastructure is neutralized," Starscream reported, with satisfaction barely masking his ambition. Shall we proceed to secondary targets? Negative, Megatron's voice crackled back. Hold position. The Republic will respond. When they do, you engage and tie down their forces, while I handle the primary objective. 800 miles south in Houston, that primary objective became horrifically clear. The Johnson Space Center, NASA's crown jewel, mission control for the International Space Station, center of American space exploration, erupted in flames as separatist dropships descended. Battle droids, thousands of them, deployed with efficiency that made military analysts weep. They weren't there for conquest. They were there to destroy. Roger, Roger, Commander says no survivors. Eliminate all personnel and infrastructure. B-1 battle droids marched through research facilities, executing scientists who dedicated their lives to peaceful space exploration. Super battle droids demolished laboratories containing decades of research. Droidicas positioned at exits, their shields ensuring no one escaped the slaughter. Dr. Sarah Chen, the NASA analyst who'd first detected the dimensional anomalies, found herself trapped in mission control with 17 colleagues and a single security guard whose pistol was pathetically inadequate against Durasteel armor. "We need help!" Chen screamed into her comm, not knowing if anyone could hear. "Johnson Space Center is under attack. They're killing everyone. Please, someone..." A B-1 droid kicked open the door, its E-5 blaster rifle raised. Termination protocol engaged. The security guard fired his entire magazine. The rounds sparked off the droid's chassis without penetrating. The droid's return shot vaporized him instantly. Chen closed her eyes, accepting death, but the killing shot never came. Instead, the wall exploded inward and a yellow and black blur crashed through the debris. Bumblebee, the Autobot scout, had been patrolling Houston when he detected the distress call. His plasma cannon salvaged Cybertronian technology far beyond. Earth's weapons fired once. The B-1 droid became molten slag. "Everyone behind me!" Bumblebee's radio samples stitched together urgency from a dozen different sources. "I'll protect you. Promise." He advanced into the corridor where more droids were converging. His weapons spoke with Cybertronian fury, each shot precise enough to destroy droids while avoiding damage to human infrastructure. But there were so many, and Bumblebee, for all his courage, was one Autobot against an army. "Bumblebee, this is Optimus!" The Autobot leader's transmission cut through combat interference. "We're detecting multiple simultaneous attacks. Houston, Colorado Springs, and..." The transmission cut to static as the third attack revealed itself. In Frankfurt, Germany, home to the European Central Bank, and the heart of the EU's financial infrastructure, the sky tore open with a dimensional rift smaller than the ones that had brought the main forces. Through it poured Decepticons who'd been held in reserve specifically for this operation. Soundwave, Megatron's communications specialist, led a team of Constructicons, Decepticons who specialized in demolition. Their target wasn't military, it was economic. "Devastator, commence combination protocol," Soundwave commanded in his characteristic monotone. The 6 Constructicons transformed and merged with mechanical precision that defied physics. What emerged was a gestalt entity 60 feet tall, a living embodiment of destructive power, Devastator. The massive combiner raised fists the size of cars and brought them down on the ECB headquarters with force that registered as seismic activity. Glass, steel, concrete, all crumbled like cardboard under Devastator's assault. In 3 minutes, the building that housed Europe's financial authority was rubble. "Economic infrastructure destroyed," Soundwave reported, proceeding to secondary targets. "Deutsche Börse, Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Estimated completion 8 minutes. Across the world, stock markets crashed, not from Devastator's physical damage alone, but from the psychological impact. If the Decepticons could destroy Europe's financial heart with impunity, what couldn't they destroy? In the White House Situation Room, Morrison watched the coordinated assault, with horror transforming into rage. "How did they get through our defenses?" General Webb demanded, staring at tactical displays showing 3 simultaneous catastrophes. "We have Republic sensors in orbit. We have Autobot patrols. How did they miss this?" "They didn't." Roland, the Republic AI who'd been granted access to Earth's systems, replied grimly. "The Decepticons used dimensional manipulation technology we didn't know they possessed. They created micro-rifts too small for long-range sensors to detect. By the time we registered their presence, they were already attacking." "Casualties?" Morrison asked, dreading the answer. "Peterson Space Force Base, 73 personnel, KIA, infrastructure destroyed. Johnson Space Center, over 200 dead and rising. Frankfurt, 52 dead, financial center destroyed. Sir, this isn't about territory. This is about breaking our will to resist." "Where the hell is our Republic support?" Webb shouted. "They promised protection." "They're responding now." Admiral Ulleran's hologram appeared, his expression carrying military fury. Lati gunships are en route to all 3 locations. Jedi are deploying, but President Morrison, this attack was designed to exploit the one weakness in our alliance. We can't be everywhere simultaneously. The Separatists and Decepticons have superior mobility. They can strike anywhere on Earth faster than we can respond. "Then what good is this alliance?" Morrison shot back, his composure finally cracking. "My people are dying while your forces arrive too late." "Because winning wars requires more than just defensive reaction," Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice interjected as he appeared beside Ulleran's hologram. "Mr. President, I understand your frustration, but the Separatists want exactly this response. Panic, recrimination, breakdown of trust between allies. We cannot give them that satisfaction." "Easy for you to say when it's not your people dying." "It is my people dying," Obi-Wan corrected quietly. "Clone troopers are deploying to all 3 locations. They'll face the same enemy fire as your forces, and many won't come home. This is our fight too, Mr. President. We just need you to trust that we're committed to winning it." Before Morrison could respond, another alert screamed across the displays. "Sir, new contacts!" A tactical officer's voice carried disbelief. "Massive Decepticon signatures appearing over Washington, D.C. They're here, in the Capitol." On the National Mall, between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, Megatron descended from the sky in robot mode, with a dozen Decepticon warriors flanking him. Viacons, mass-produced Decepticon soldiers, took up positions while their leader surveyed the human capital with contempt. "Humans of Earth!" Megatron's voice boomed across every speaker in Washington, D.C., broadcast through hacked systems with technology humans couldn't block. "You have aligned yourselves with the Galactic Republic and the Autobots. You believe they can protect you. Allow me to demonstrate how wrong you are." He pointed toward the Capitol building, the symbol of American democracy, the seat of legislative power. His fusion cannon charged with energy that made the air itself scream. "Your Republic allies claim to value your sovereignty. Your Autobot protectors speak of defending freedom. Yet where are they now? Where is Optimus Prime while I stand in your capital? Where are the Jedi while your government cowers?" The fusion cannon fired. The energy blast struck the Capitol's dome with force equivalent to a bunker-buster bomb. The historic structure didn't just damage, it partially collapsed, the dome caving, inward as stone and metal vaporized. Across America, across the world, people watched in horror as one of democracy's greatest symbols was destroyed by an alien who mocked humanity's helplessness. "You see," Megatron continued, his voice carrying satisfaction, "your allies are weak, your weapons are toys, your governments are prey pretending to be predators. The Decepticons offer an alternative. Submit, serve, survive, resist, and watch everything you've built turn to ash." National Guard units stationed around DC opened fire with everything they had. 50 caliber machine guns, Tau missiles, even a desperate javelin shot from a nearby rooftop. The weapons struck Megatron's armor and bounced off harmlessly, their impacts barely registering to a being who'd survived millions of years of warfare. "Pathetic," Megatron stated and fired again. This time his blast struck the Washington Monument, toppling the 555-foot obelisk like a felled tree. The crash could be felt miles away as one of America's most recognizable landmarks became rubble. Your monuments fall, your cities burn, your people die, and your alien saviors are nowhere to be found. Remember this moment, humans. Remember how easily the Decepticons shattered the illusion of safety your republic provided. When you're ready to accept reality, we'll discuss terms of your surrender. But even as Megatron delivered his speech, reality was shifting. At Peterson Space Force Base, Republic LAAT gunships descended through smoke and fire. Clone troopers, the 501st under Captain Rex, deployed with weapons hot and orders clear. Eliminate all hostiles, protect surviving personnel, restore operational capacity. All units engage, Rex commanded, his DC-15 blaster rifle tracking Starscream as the Decepticon Seeker strafed the base. Concentrate fire on the aerial targets. Show these Decepticons what clones can do. Concentrated blaster fire from 40 clone troopers struck Starscream simultaneously. The Decepticon's shields held, barely, but the sheer volume of fire forced him to break off his attack run. "Impossible!" Starscream snarled. "These primitives shouldn't have weapons that can damage me." "We're not primitives," Rex replied through external speakers, knowing Starscream could hear. "We're professional soldiers, and we've been fighting wars since before your species figured out space travel." "You dare!" Starscream dove toward Rex's position with null rays charging. "I'll vaporize you for your insolence." Anakin Skywalker appeared from a LAAT's troop bay, leaping 20 feet to intercept Starscream mid-dive. His blue lightsaber ignited, and the plasma blade met Decepticon armor with results that shocked both combatants. Lightsabers could cut through almost anything. Cybertronian armor forged in the heart of dying stars and reinforced with metals Earth didn't have names for was one of the few things that resisted. Anakin's strike scored Starscream's chassis without penetrating, but the impact was enough to knock the Decepticon off trajectory. Starscream transformed mid-flight, switching to jet mode and rocketing away from the Jedi who shouldn't have been able to touch him. "What are you?" Starscream demanded, his sensors analyzing Anakin's capabilities and finding them impossible by known physics. "I'm a Jedi," Anakin replied, landing with force-cushioned impact. "And you just made a mistake coming to my planet." At Johnson Space Center, Bumblebee was losing. 36 battle droids remained operational, and for every one he destroyed, 2 more advanced through corridors slick with human blood. Dr. Chen and her survivors cowered behind the Autobot scout, who'd taken damage from repeated blaster fire. "B, fall back!" Optimus Prime's transmission cut through combat. "I'm 2 minutes out. Just hold on." "Can't leave them." Bumblebee's radio samples carried determination despite his damaged state. "Won't abandon. Promise." A super battle droid's wrist blaster caught Bumblebee in the shoulder joint, melting through armor and severing hydraulic lines. The Autobot's right arm went limp, useless. "B!" Chen screamed, watching her protector falter. But Bumblebee didn't fall. Through pain that would have incapacitated most beings, he raised his functioning arm and fired his plasma cannon with the last of his energy reserves. The blast didn't just destroy the super battle droid, it carved through 6 battle droids behind it, the superheated plasma melting through their formations. Nobody hurts, my friends. Bumblebee's final radio sample played before his power system shut down to preserve core functions. He collapsed, 17 tons of Cybertronian soldier falling to his knees in a protective stance over the humans he'd sworn to defend. Even unconscious, his body formed a barrier between them and the remaining droids. The B-1 droids advanced, weapons raised for execution. Then Obi-Wan Kenobi appeared in the doorway with Ahsoka Tano at his side. "I think," Obi-Wan stated calmly, his lightsaber igniting, "you've done quite enough damage for one day." What followed was a masterclass in Jedi combat. Obi-Wan's Soresu defense created an impenetrable barrier that deflected every blaster bolt back at its source. Ahsoka's Ataru acrobatics let her move through droid formations like a dancer, her dual blades carving through durasteel with precision born from years of Clone Wars experience. In 30 seconds, every droid in the facility was destroyed. In 2 minutes, clone medics were treating survivors. In 5 minutes, Optimus Prime arrived with Autobot medic Ratchet, whose advanced technology began repairing Bumblebee's damage. "You did well, old friend," Optimus said quietly to his unconscious scout. "You held the line when it mattered most." Chen approached the massive Autobot leader with tears streaming down her face. "He saved us. That little yellow robot saved 18 people and almost died doing it. Why? We're nothing to him. We're not his species. Not his responsibility. Why risk everything for strangers?" Optimus looked down at the human scientist with optics that had witnessed civilizations rise and fall. Because protecting those who cannot protect themselves is what defines the Autobots. It is what separates us from the Decepticons. They fight for dominance. We fight for freedom, not just our own, everyone's. That is the principle worth dying for, Dr. Chen. Your friend Bumblebee understands that. He always has. In Frankfurt, the response came not from Jedi or Autobots, but from Earth's own forces enhanced by Republic technology. The German Kommando Spezialkräfte, KSK Special Forces, had been training with clone commandos for the past 3 days. When Devastator appeared, they deployed with Republic anti-armor weapons that made their standard equipment look like children's toys. All units target the Gestalt's connection points. The KSK commander ordered in German, translated instantly for clone advisors. Republic intelligence says the combination is the weakness. Sever enough connections, and the whole thing falls apart. RPS-6 rocket launchers, Republic portable siege weapons, fired in coordinated salvos. The rockets, designed to penetrate separatist MTTs and destroy shield generators, struck Devastator's knee joints with devastating effect. The massive combiner staggered, roaring with 6 voices speaking in unison. Devastator, sustaining damage, recalculating. "Keep firing," the commander screamed. "Don't let it recover." Jedi Master Mace Windu arrived with the full weight of the Force behind him. He raised both hands, and Devastator, all 60 feet and hundreds of tons of it, lifted into the air through telekinetic power that made physics weep. "Your combination makes you powerful," Windu stated, with Jedi calm despite the massive strain. "But it also makes you vulnerable. Separated, you're 6 Decepticons. Combined, your one target." He slammed Devastator into the ground with force that cracked pavement and registered seismically. The Gestalt's connection points, already damaged by KSK rockets, failed. The combination broke. 6 Constructicons separated, scattered, and disoriented. "Now!" Windu commanded, and German special forces swarmed the separated Decepticons with Republic weapons that could actually harm Cybertronian armor. Soundwave, watching his team's defeat, made the coldly logical decision. Constructicons, retreat. Mission parameters achieved. Economic disruption successful. The Decepticons transformed and fled, leaving Frankfurt's financial district in ruins, but retreating before they could be destroyed. It was a victory, but it felt hollow. The buildings were still rubble. The economic damage was still catastrophic. And most importantly, the message was sent. Earth was vulnerable, despite its alien allies. On the National Mall in Washington, D.C., Megatron stood amid the rubble of American symbols when Optimus Prime finally arrived. The Autobot leader transformed from his semi-truck alt mode and faced his ancient enemy with the weariness of millions of years of conflict. "Megatron," Optimus stated, his voice carrying sadness beneath the strength. "Attacking monuments, terrorizing civilians, this is beneath even you." "Is it?" Megatron countered. "I'm demonstrating reality, Optimus. These humans allied with you, believing you could protect them. I've proven that belief false. Now they'll question everything. Every promise you've made, every assurance of safety. That doubt is worth more than any strategic position." "You're right," Optimus admitted, surprising both Megatron and the watching military forces. "We cannot protect everyone everywhere. We are finite beings facing infinite threats. But that truth doesn't invalidate our purpose. It clarifies it. We protect those we can reach. We fight for principles that outlast individual battles. And we never, ever surrender to tyrants who believe might makes right. Then you'll die with your principles intact and your charges enslaved," Megatron stated, his fusion cannon charging. "A fate you've chosen time and again." The two titans clashed in the heart of the American capital. Megatron's fusion cannon versus Optimus's ion blaster. Decepticon tyranny versus Autobot freedom. The battle shook buildings and made the ground tremble. Two beings who'd fought since before human civilization existed, bringing their war to Earth's doorstep. They were evenly matched. They always had been. For every blow Megatron landed, Optimus returned one of equal force. For every tactical advantage Megatron seized, Optimus countered with strategic positioning. Around them, human and clone forces engaged Decepticon warriors. The battle raged across the National Mall, transforming America's symbolic heart into a war zone that would be remembered for generations. But even as DC burned, even as the coordinated attacks continued across 3 continents, something was shifting in humanity's response. They were learning, adapting, fighting back. At Peterson, Starscream retreated after sustained clone and Jedi assault. At Houston, the droids were eliminated and survivors rescued. At Frankfurt, Devastator was separated and driven off. And in DC, Megatron realized something that made even his cold Decepticon logic pause. Optimus wasn't fighting alone anymore. Clone troopers were flanking with weapons that could harm Decepticons. Jedi were supporting with force abilities that disrupted targeting. And human forces equipped with Republic technology were becoming genuine threats rather than nuisances. "This isn't over, Prime," Megatron stated, knowing when tactical withdrawal was wiser than Pyrrhic victory. "I've made my point. Next time you won't be so fortunate." "There will always be a next time with you, Megatron," Optimus replied wearily. "That's your tragedy. You never learned when to stop. Megatron transformed and rocketed into the sky with his remaining Decepticons. The battle was over. The casualties were counted. The damage was assessed. 273 military personnel dead, 418 civilians killed, billions in economic damage, historic landmarks destroyed, America's capital scarred. But humanity had fought back, with alien weapons, with alien allies, with determination born from seeing their world attacked. In the White House bunker, Morrison addressed his cabinet with eyes that had witnessed America wounded, but not broken. "We just took the first real hit in this war," Morrison stated. "The Decepticons and Separatists proved they can strike anywhere. Our allies proved they can respond but not prevent. So now we face a choice. Do we surrender to fear, or do we adapt to reality?" "What do you propose, Mr. President?" General Webb asked. "We accelerate the integration, full technology transfer from the Republic, Jedi embedded in every major military command, Autobots positioned at strategic locations globally, and we stop treating this like a temporary crisis. This is the new normal. Earth is a battleground in someone else's war, and we either become active participants or passive victims. I know which one I choose." Around the table, heads nodded. The decision was made. Earth would fight, not as subjects seeking protection, but as partners demanding respect. The Decepticons had made their point. Now humanity would make theirs. The technology transfer began 48 hours after the coordinated attacks, and it changed everything. In a secured hangar at Edwards Air Force Base, Dr. Chen stood before equipment that made her NASA training feel like elementary school science. Republic engineers, human specialists who'd worked with alien technology for years, demonstrated weapons that rewrote Earth's understanding of physics. "This is a DC-15A blaster rifle," the Republic engineer explained, holding a weapon that looked both elegant and deadly. "It fires concentrated plasma bolts at subsonic velocities, effective range 500 meters, penetration sufficient to punch through Durasteel armor plating, power cell 500 shots before recharge required." "How does it generate plasma without a massive power source?" an Air Force weapons specialist asked, examining the rifle with professional awe. "Tibanna gas compression and magnetic containment," the engineer replied. "The technology is 4,000 years old by Republic standards. For you, it's revolutionary. For us, it's standard infantry equipment." "Can we manufacture these?" General Webb asked, watching the demonstration from the observation deck. "Not yet," Admiral Yularen's hologram answered honestly. "You lack the industrial base. But we can establish production facilities with Republic oversight. 6 months and you could be producing your own blasters. 1 year and you might develop indigenous improvements. The Republic didn't gatekeep technology from allies. We shared it freely because stronger allies meant better collective defense." "And the Jedi training?" President Morrison asked, having arrived to observe personally. "How do you teach Force abilities to people who aren't Force-sensitive?" "You don't," Obi-Wan Kenobi replied, having joined the briefing. "The Force is genetic. Either you have the potential or you don't. But we can train your special forces in tactics that complement Jedi abilities, how to coordinate with Force users, how to exploit openings Jedi create, how to defend Force sensitives while they're focusing on abilities that leave them vulnerable." He gestured to a training area where Navy SEALs were sparring with clone commandos under Ahsoka Tano's supervision. The humans were getting destroyed, but they were learning. "Your soldiers are skilled," Obi-Wan observed. "Give them Republic weapons and tactical integration with Jedi, and they'll be formidable. Not clones. Clones are bred and trained from birth for warfare. but close enough to matter in the battles ahead. What about the Autobots? Morrison pressed. What can they teach us? Optimus Prime's massive form appeared in the hangar entrance, his presence making even military officers who'd fought in war zones feel small. Transformation, adaptation, survival. He gestured to a group of Army tank crews who'd been training with Autobot instructors. Your armored vehicles are impressive for pre-spacefaring civilization, but they're limited by human thinking, one purpose, one configuration. Cybertronians learned millions of years ago that adaptability is survival. A warrior who can be both fighter jet and ground assault unit is twice as valuable as one locked into single role. We can't transform like you, an Army captain observed. We're not robots. No, Optimus agreed, but your vehicles can be designed with modular components. Your tactics can embrace flexibility over rigid doctrine. Your soldiers can learn to think like Autobots, always adapting, never accepting that current configuration is the only option. The training continued across the world. In China, Jedi Master Plo Koon taught People's Liberation Army Special Forces how to coordinate with Force abilities. In Russia, clone advisors worked with Spetsnaz to develop anti-Decepticon tactics. In Britain, Autobot Ironhide trained SAS teams in asymmetric warfare against technologically superior enemies. But while the military integration progressed, a darker operation was unfolding beneath the surface. In a CIA black site outside Langoon, FBI Director Patricia Reynolds interrogated a captured separatist agent, a human who'd been recruited through dark web forums and promised wealth beyond measure for intelligence on Earth's defenses. You sold out your species for money, Reynolds stated coldly, studying the man who'd provided separatist forces with information that led to civilian deaths. 200 people died at Johnson Space Center because you told the droids exactly where to strike. How much were they worth? What price did you put on 200 lives? 5 million credits, the collaborator replied without shame. Enough to retire in luxury when the separatists win, which they will. You're delaying the inevitable. I chose to be on the winning side. There is no winning side when you betray your own species, Reynolds replied. There's just collaboration and consequences. Let me show you what consequences look like. She nodded to Mace Windu, who'd been observing silently from the corner. The Jedi Master stepped forward, his presence making the collaborator flinch. I'm not going to hurt you, Windu stated, but I am going to show you what your actions cost. He placed his hand near the collaborator's head, not touching, just close, and used the Force to project memories. The man suddenly experienced every death at Johnson Space Center, felt their fear, their pain, their final moments as blaster fire vaporized them. The collaborator screamed. That's 200 people, Windu said quietly, withdrawing his hand. 200 lives ended because you valued money over species loyalty. The Republic has seen collaborators before, on every world we've tried to defend. And I've learned that some beings simply cannot be reached through reason or mercy. They only understand consequences. He turned to Reynolds. Do what you must. Justice in this case is human jurisdiction, not Jedi. The collaborator would face trial, conviction, and execution under new laws passed specifically for alien collaboration. He was the first of hundreds. The purge was expanding from corrupt officials to anyone who'd provided material support to Earth's enemies. And it was working. Separatist intelligence networks are collapsing, Roland reported to the Joint Command Council 3 days into the purge. Their human assets are being arrested faster than they can recruit replacements. The Decepticons are losing their most valuable resource, local collaborators who understand human systems. How many arrested total? China's President Xi asked. Globally, approaching 3,000 confirmed collaborators, another 10,000 under investigation. The numbers are shocking. We're finding traitors in military, government, corporate, and civilian sectors across every nation. Because the separatists and Decepticons are smart, Obi-Wan observed. They know they can't conquer Earth through force alone. They need division, corruption, humans betraying humans. Take that away, and their strategic position weakens significantly. What about the terrorist organizations? Britain's Prime Minister asked. ISIS, cartels, traffickers, the ones being armed by Decepticons? We're targeting them simultaneously, Mace Windu replied. And Mr. Prime Minister, we're not asking permission anymore. These groups represent immediate threats to civilian populations. Under our agreement, Republic forces can respond to prevent mass casualties. We're interpreting that broadly. What broadly meant became clear the next day when Jedi Knight Aayla Secura led a combined Republic-NATO assault on ISIS positions across Iraq and Syria. The operation was called Righteous Fury, and it lived up to its name. LAAT gunships descended on ISIS strongholds with clone troopers and special forces from 6 nations. But this time, they weren't just attacking, they were eradicating. Every weapons cache destroyed, every commander captured or eliminated, every facility reduced to rubble. This is Master Secura to all units, Aayla transmitted from her command gunship. ISIS has been armed by Decepticons with weapons that exceed their technical capability. Expect heavy resistance, rules of engagement. Hostile combatants are fair targets. Civilians are to be protected at all costs. Any questions? Just one, Master Jedi, a British SAS captain responded. How do we tell the difference between armed ISIS fighters and armed civilians defending their homes? The Force will guide you, Aayla replied. Trust your Jedi liaisons. We can sense darkness. ISIS fighters carry it like a stain. Innocent people defending themselves don't. It sounded mystical and unreliable to soldiers trained in visual identification and positive target confirmation. But as the assault commenced, they learned the Jedi were right. Aayla could sense hostile intent before weapons were even raised. She directed teams away from civilian positions and toward actual combatants with accuracy that made electronic intelligence look primitive. Within hours, ISIS positions that had held territory for years were overrun without significant civilian casualties. How did you know? The SAS captain asked after Aayla directed his team around a building she insisted held non-combatants. There were children inside, families. If we'd breached thinking it was hostile, the Force showed me their fear, Aayla explained gently. Not aggression, not hate, just terror of being caught between combat forces. ISIS fighters feel different. Their emotions are corrupted by ideology that celebrates death. The difference is clear to anyone trained to sense it. The operation continued for 72 hours. When it concluded, ISIS as a functional organization had ceased to exist. Their leadership dead or captured, their weapons confiscated, their territory liberated. The caliphate that had terrorized the Middle East for years was broken in 3 days by forces that combined modern special operations with force abilities. This is what we could have done all along, an Iraqi general observed, watching Republic forces evacuate liberated civilians. If we'd had these weapons, these allies, ISIS would never have risen at all. Perhaps, Obi-Wan replied, having joined the operation, but dwelling on what might have been accomplishes nothing. Focus on what comes next. ISIS is broken, but the ideology remains. Ideas are harder to kill than fighters. You'll need to address the grievances that allowed such extremism to flourish. The Republic can't solve that for you. Similar operations proceeded globally. In Colombia, clone commandos and DEA agents dismantled cartel infrastructure with precision that decades of drug war had never achieved. In Eastern Europe, Jedi-led task forces eliminated trafficking networks that had operated with impunity for generations. In Southeast Asia, combined forces destroyed pirate havens that had plagued shipping for centuries. For the first time in human history, the forces of law and order had decisive technological and tactical advantages over the forces of chaos, and they were using those advantages without restraint. But not everyone celebrated the purge. "You're creating a police state," a CNN journalist confronted President Morrison during a press conference. "Arrests without trial, military operations without congressional approval, alien forces conducting law enforcement on American soil. Mr. President, this violates everything the Constitution stands for." "The Constitution doesn't account for alien invasion," Morrison shot back, his patience for ideological purity exhausted by weeks of crisis. "We're fighting enemies who can destroy cities from orbit, who can transform into vehicles and infiltrate our infrastructure, who arm terrorists with weapons that make nukes look like firecrackers. Yes, we're taking extraordinary measures. Yes, we're trusting alien allies with authority that makes, some people uncomfortable. But the alternative is extinction. So you'll forgive me if constitutional theory takes a back seat to species survival." "And when the crisis ends," the journalist pressed, "when the separatists and Decepticons are defeated, do we trust that the Republic and Autobots will simply leave, that they won't use their superior technology to impose their values on us? If we reach that point, if we actually defeat enemies who fought galactic wars for millions of years, I'll consider it a victory worth any political price," Morrison replied. Next question. But the journalist's concerns weren't isolated. Across the world, civil liberties organizations protested the expansion of alien authority. Human rights groups documented arrests that bypassed due process, and philosophers debated whether humanity's soul was worth preserving if the cost was surrendering its autonomy. "We're becoming dependent," a UN delegate from Brazil argued in closed session. "Every day we rely more on Republic technology and Autobot protection. What happens to our sovereignty when we can't defend ourselves? Without alien assistance, we become clients, vassals, subjects pretending to be partners." "Would you rather be sovereign and dead?" China's delegate shot back. "The Decepticons don't care about our political philosophy. They care about our resources and our submission. I'll take dependence on the Republic over slavery to Megatron any day." "Both options surrender our independence. Then develop a third option." The Chinese delegate exploded with frustration that had been building for weeks. "Build technology that matches theirs. Develop capabilities that make us genuine partners instead of charity cases. But don't sabotage our survival because you're uncomfortable with the compromises necessary to achieve it." The debate raged while the war continued, and in the shadows of that war, Count Dooku was making plans that would test humanity's fragile alliance far more severely than open combat. In a secured facility in the Congo, far from modern cities hidden beneath jungle canopy, separatist engineers worked with Decepticon scientists on a project that merged both civilization's darkest technologies. "The biological weapon is complete," a separatist scientist reported to Dooku's hologram. "Derived from Blue Shadow virus with Decepticon nanotech enhancement. Transmission rate exceeds our most optimistic projections. Mortality rate, 98% in human populations, non-lethal to droids and Cybertronians. perfect vector for removing the indigenous population while preserving infrastructure. Ethical concerns, Dooku asked, his tone making clear he didn't particularly care but wanted the information for tactical purposes. Significant, the scientist admitted. This represents genocide on a planetary scale. Every major biological warfare convention prohibits. Conventions written by humans for human conflict, Dooku interrupted. Not applicable to galactic warfare. Our objective is clear. Remove Earth's population from the equation. Force the Republic to choose between saving humans and achieving military objectives. Compassion is their weakness. We exploit it. When do we deploy? Soundwave asked, his monotone carrying the cold logic of Decepticon pragmatism. Soon, Dooku replied, but first we need to eliminate the one variable that could disrupt this operation. The Jedi's Force abilities. They can sense darkness, detect our preparations. We need them distracted, scattered, unable to coordinate response. Recommendation, Soundwave stated, create crisis that demands Jedi presence across multiple locations simultaneously. While they're dispersed, deploy the weapon where they cannot sense it until too late. Precisely, Dooku confirmed. Megatron, coordinate with your Decepticons. Launch simultaneous attacks on population centers across 6 continents. Force the Republic to deploy every Jedi they have. And while they're busy saving civilians in obvious attacks, we release the weapon in locations they're not protecting. Megatron finished, understanding the strategy immediately. Elegant, ruthless, effective. The plan was set, the weapon was ready, and humanity had no idea that while they celebrated victories against ISIS and cartels, a threat that made conventional warfare look merciful was being prepared. 3 days later, the attacks began. Decepticons struck Mexico City, Tokyo, Mumbai, Cairo, Lagos, and Sydney simultaneously. Not military targets this time, pure civilian population centers. Megatron had calculated correctly. The Republic couldn't ignore attacks that would kill millions. Every Jedi was deployed. Every clone battalion committed. Every Autobot sent to defend cities under assault. The entire Allied response apparatus focused on the obvious threat, which is exactly what Dooku wanted. In Geneva, in the secure conference facility where world leaders had first met with the Republic, a separatist infiltration team deployed the weapon. Not a bomb, not a missile, just aerosol canisters hidden in ventilation systems, releasing modified blue shadow virus enhanced with Decepticon nanotechnology. The first victims were security personnel who'd been patrolling the building. They collapsed within minutes, bleeding from every orifice as the virus liquefied their internal organs with efficiency that made natural diseases look gentle. Within an hour, every person in the facility was dead. 73 people, scientists, security guards, janitors, all murdered by a weapon designed to make Earth uninhabitable for its native species. And the virus was airborne. It began spreading across Geneva with exponential mathematics that made epidemiologists weep. One infected person became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became thousands, and by the time Swiss health authorities realized something was wrong, it was too late to contain. Mr. President, we have a situation, CDC Director Catherine Walsh transmitted to Morrison with barely controlled panic. Unknown biological agent in Geneva. Transmission rate suggests weaponized pathogen. Mortality rate approaching 100%. Sir, this isn't natural. This is biological warfare. Morrison felt ice in his veins. Can we contain it? Not with current protocols. This thing spreads faster than anything we've encountered. Airborne transmission. Survived standard decontamination. Incubation period under 1 hour. Mr. President, if this gets out of Geneva, it won't. Morrison stated with certainty he didn't feel. Quarantine the entire city. Military cordon. Nothing gets in or out. I don't care if we have to shoot Swiss civilians trying to flee. This virus stays contained. Sir, Switzerland is demanding we consult their government before implementing military quarantine on their sovereign territory. They can consult my decision after it's implemented, Morrison interrupted. Director, this is an extinction-level threat. Sovereignty is a luxury we can't afford. Contact the Republic, contact the Autobots. Tell them we need their medical technology now, and pray to whatever gods listen that they have something that can stop this before it kills everyone in Geneva. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Ularen received the transmission with horror that transcended species boundaries. Biological weapons weren't just prohibited by Republic law, they were considered morally abhorrent even by separatist standards. That Dooku would deploy one meant he'd abandoned any pretense of civilized warfare. All Republic medical personnel, emergency deployment to Geneva, Ularen ordered. Full biohazard protocols. This is a Code Omega scenario, planet-killing pathogen. We contain it or Earth's population is finished. Obi-Wan Kenobi, fighting Decepticons in Mumbai, received the alert and felt cold dread through the Force. This was the darkness he'd sensed but couldn't identify. Not conventional attack, not military threat. Something worse. Something that threatened not just lives but civilization itself. Anakin, Obi-Wan transmitted to his former Padawan fighting in Tokyo. We've been manipulated. The attacks on population centers were distractions. The real threat is in Geneva. Biological weapon. We need Jedi healers there immediately. Master, if we leave these cities, millions die from Decepticon attacks. Anakin replied, his voice strained from combat. And if we don't stop that virus, billions die from pandemic, Obi-Wan countered. We can't save everyone, Anakin. We have to choose where our limited resources have maximum impact. Get to Geneva, now. As Jedi abandoned their defensive positions to address the biological threat, Megatron watched with satisfaction that would have seemed alien if Decepticons felt such emotions. Excellent, Megatron stated, observing civilian casualties mounting in the cities Jedi had just abandoned. Dooku's virus forces them to choose between immediate threats and existential ones. Either way, humans die and the Republic's credibility is destroyed. Our victory becomes inevitable. But Megatron had made one critical miscalculation. He'd assumed Optimus Prime would make the same choice as the Jedi, abandon tactical positions to address the biological threat. Optimus made a different choice. Autobots, Optimus transmitted to every warrior under his command. The Jedi are responding to Geneva. We hold the cities, no matter the cost. We show humanity that the Autobots don't abandon those who trust us. Prime will be outnumbered, Ironhide protested from Lagos. Without Jedi support, the Decepticons will overwhelm us. Then we hold until we're overwhelmed, Optimus replied with calm that came from millions of years accepting impossible odds. And if we fall, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That's what Autobots do. That's what we've always done. In 6 cities across Earth, Autobots faced Decepticons with the certain knowledge they were outmatched, outnumbered, and likely facing their final battles. But they fought anyway, because that's what heroes did. The quarantine of Geneva was absolute and brutal. Swiss armed forces, reinforced by NATO rapid response units, and clone troopers who'd arrived via emergency LAAT deployment, established a perimeter around the city that would have made maximum security prisons look relaxed. Tank battalions, mobile artillery, anti-aircraft batteries, and, most chillingly, orders to shoot anyone attempting to leave the quarantine zone. "This is inhumane," the Swiss president protested via emergency transmission to the UN Security Council. "You're imprisoning 200,000 people. My people. Based on unconfirmed biological threat, this violates every international treaty on—" "Your people are dying," President Morrison interrupted, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd made impossible decisions and would make more. 73 dead in the first hour, 200 in the second, 400 in the third. At current progression, everyone in Geneva will be dead in 18 hours. And if one infected person escapes that city, the virus spreads globally, human extinction in under 60 days. So yes, we're violating treaties, we're suspending rights, we're doing things that will make historians condemn us. But we're doing them because the alternative is species death. Inside Geneva, the situation was apocalyptic. Hospitals overflowed with victims, bleeding from every orifice as the modified blue shadow virus liquefied their internal organs. Doctors and nurses lacking proper biohazard equipment became infected themselves while trying to treat patients. Families locked themselves in homes hoping quarantine would protect them, not understanding the virus was airborne and already inside their ventilation systems. "We need Republic medical support now," a Swiss emergency coordinator screamed into communications gear. "Our hospitals can't handle this. We don't have the equipment, the training, the—" The transmission cut to screaming as the coordinator began hemorrhaging, the virus claiming another victim. Republic Medical Frigate Benevolence achieved orbit above Geneva and began emergency deployment. But what descended wasn't just clone medics with advanced equipment. It was something Earth had never encountered: Jedi healers. Master Luminara Unduli and her Padawan Barisafi led the medical intervention, accompanied by specialized clone medical companies and equipment that made Earth's most advanced hospitals look primitive. "The virus is force-enhanced," Luminara reported grimly, her force senses detecting the dark side corruption woven into the pathogen structure. Count Dooku didn't just create a biological weapon. He created one that feeds on fear and pain. Every victim's suffering makes it stronger, more virulent. This is Sith alchemy merged with separatist science. "Can you stop it?" Dr. Catherine Walsh demanded, having arrived in Geneva via military transport despite the insane risk. "We can try," Barris replied, though her young face showed doubt. "Jedi healing can purge dark side corruption from living tissue, but this virus replicates faster than we can heal. For every person we save, 10 more are infected." "Then we need to attack the source," Luminara decided. "Barris, you and the medical teams treat victims. Buy them time. I'll use the Force to track this virus back to its origin. Sith alchemy leaves traces. If I can find where it was released, maybe I can create a Force barrier that contains it." "Master, if you use that much Force energy, you'll—" "I know the cost," Luminara interrupted gently, "but 20,000 have already died. If I can save the remaining population, my life is acceptable price." She moved to the highest point in Geneva, the Jet d'eau fountain in the harbor, and began a Force meditation that would either save the city or kill her trying. Luminara sank deep into the Force, feeling the virus as a darkness spreading like ink through water. She traced its path backward through infected populations, through ventilation systems, through the initial release point in the conference facility, and there, at the epicenter, she found it. A separatist device still emitting low-level viral particles, ensuring continuous reinfection. "Found you," Luminara whispered, and she did something only Jedi Masters could attempt. She created a Force barrier around the entire city. It wasn't a physical shield. It was a manipulation of the Force itself. creating a barrier that prevented the virus from spreading beyond Geneva's boundaries, while simultaneously purging dark-side corruption from within those boundaries. The effort was monumental. Jedi had held force barriers around buildings, around small groups, but an entire city that exceeded anything in the Jedi archives. Luminara's body trembled as she channeled power that should have killed her instantly. Blood dripped from her nose. Her hands shook, but she held. "The infection rate is dropping," Barriss reported with desperate hope. "Master, whatever you're doing, it's working. The virus it's breaking down. The dark side energy sustaining it is being purged." Luminara didn't respond, couldn't respond. Every ounce of concentration focused on maintaining the barrier while simultaneously cleansing the corruption within. She could feel the virus fighting back, Dooku's Sith alchemy resisting her light side purification. It was a battle of wills conducted through the Force, and if Luminara faltered even slightly, thousands more would die. Outside Geneva, clone medical teams worked with Earth doctors to treat victims who'd been purged of viral infection, but still suffered massive organ damage. Republic medical technology, Bacta tanks, surgical droids, regenerative therapies, worked miracles that seemed impossible by Earth standards. "This woman's liver is completely liquefied," Dr. Walsh observed, watching a Bacta tank rebuild organs at visible rates. "By every medical standard I understand, she should be dead. How is this possible?" "Advanced biotechnology developed across thousands of years," a clone medic explained while treating another patient. "The Republic has fought biological warfare before. We learned to counter it. Your Earth will learn too if you survive long enough." "If we survive," Walsh repeated quietly, watching Geneva through biohazard-suited windows. "That's the question now, isn't it?" While Geneva fought for survival, the battles in 6 cities reached critical intensity. In Tokyo, Optimus Prime stood alone against Megatron and 4 Decepticon warriors in the shadow of Tokyo Tower. His armor was scorched. His energon reserves were critical. His weapons were nearly depleted, but he stood. "Surrender, Prime," Megatron demanded. His fusion cannon charged and aimed at his ancient enemy's spark chamber. "Your Jedi have abandoned this city. Your Autobot forces are scattered. You cannot win." "Winning was never the objective," Optimus replied, his voice carrying exhaustion but not defeat. "Protecting these people is, and as long as I function, I will stand between them and you." Megatron fired. The fusion blast caught Optimus in the chest, staggering him backward. But the Autobot leader didn't fall. He raised his ion blaster and returned fire with accuracy that spoke to millions of years of combat experience. "You'll die for beings who aren't even your species," Megatron observed with something almost like respect. "For primitives who can barely comprehend your existence. Why? Because protecting the innocent is what defines us," Optimus stated. "Not power, not conquest, not survival, principle. You taught me that once, Megatron, before you became this." The words struck deeper than any weapon. For just a moment, Megatron's optics flickered with something that might have been memory. Of Cybertron before the war, of brotherhood before betrayal, of principles they'd once shared before power corrupted everything. Then the moment passed. "Sentiment is weakness." "No," a new voice interrupted. "Sentiment is strength." Anakin Skywalker appeared, having left the Geneva response to other Jedi. His lightsaber ignited, blue plasma blade casting light across Tokyo's devastated streets. "You want to kill Optimus?" Anakin challenged Megatron directly. "You go through me first, and I'm not as merciful as he is." Megatron assessed the new threat, this human who wielded energy blades and moved with force-enhanced speed. Dangerous, but not invincible. "Very well, Jedi," Megatron stated, shifting his fusion cannon's aim from Optimus to Anakin. "I'll kill you both. The Decepticons don't discriminate in their enemies." The battle that followed would be recorded in both Cybertronian and Jedi archives as one of the most unlikely partnerships in military history. Optimus Prime, weakened, damaged, nearly depleted, fought alongside Anakin Skywalker with coordination that shouldn't have been possible between beings who'd known each other less than a month. But combat had a way of creating understanding that transcended language or species. Anakin's lightsaber deflected Megatron's fusion blasts, redirecting energy that would have finished Optimus. Optimus's ion blaster provided covering fire that let Anakin close distance against Decepticon warriors who'd have crushed him at range. They moved like they'd trained together for years, each covering the other's weaknesses, each amplifying the other's strengths. "You fight well for a primitive," Megatron snarled at Anakin, his blade clashing against the Jedi's lightsaber with force that cracked pavement. "I'm not primitive," Anakin shot back, using force push to separate them and create space for Optimus to reposition. "I'm just motivated. You threatened my planet. You attacked civilians. You allied with separatist scum who nearly destroyed my people. This is personal." "Then you understand," Megatron replied, almost approving. "The Decepticons fight because the universe left us no choice. Survival requires strength. Compassion is luxury we cannot afford." "That's where you're wrong," Optimus interjected, firing a shot that forced Megatron to dodge. "Compassion isn't luxury, it's necessity. Without it, we become exactly what we claim to oppose. The Decepticons fell because you forgot that truth, old friend." "I am not your friend," Megatron roared, and his rage made him careless. Anakin saw the opening. His connection to the Force screamed opportunity. He dove forward with Gem. So aggression, his lightsaber striking Megatron's fusion cannon at the exact moment it was charging. The overload feedback exploded, taking Megatron's arm off at the elbow. The Decepticon leader screamed, a sound that mixed pain, fury, and disbelief. His primary weapon was gone, his most powerful asset destroyed by a being he dismissed as primitive. "Retreat!" Megatron commanded his remaining Decepticons, transforming to jet mode with one functional arm and rocketing into the sky, trailing Energon. "This battle is lost, but the war continues." As Decepticons fled, Anakin collapsed from force exhaustion. Optimus caught him before he hit the ground, the massive Autobot cradling the unconscious Jedi with surprising gentleness. "Your courage saved this city," Optimus said quietly, though Anakin couldn't hear. "You fought beside me as though we'd been allies for millennia. The Force chose wisely when it brought you to this moment." Around them, Tokyo began to recover. Civilians emerged from shelters. Emergency services mobilized. The Decepticon attack had been repelled, and while the cost was high, it was survivable. Similar scenes played out across the 6 cities. In Mumbai, Ironhide and Ahsoka Tano held against Starscream until the Decepticon's cowardice overcame his aggression. In Cairo, Bumblebee fought with such desperate courage that even damaged and outnumbered, he inspired local military forces to hold lines they thought impossible. In Lagos, Ratchet, the Autobot medic, proved that healers could fight when necessary, his precision weapons dismantling Decepticons with surgical accuracy. The cities were saved, barely, at terrible cost, but saved. And in Geneva, Luminara Unduli finally collapsed, her force barrier dissipating as unconsciousness claimed her. She'd held for 4 hours, an eternity in Force terms. The virus was contained. The dark side corruption was purged. 20,000 were dead, but 180,000 survived. Barriss caught her master as she fell, tears streaming down the young Padawan's face. "Master, you did it. You saved them. You—" "Cost," Luminara whispered, barely conscious. "What was the cost? The cities. Did they hold?" "They held," Barris confirmed. "The Autobots held the line. We didn't lose any cities." "Then it was worth it," Luminara said, and allowed herself to fall into healing sleep that would take weeks to recover from. The crisis was over, but the scars would last far longer. In the aftermath, world leaders and military analysts assessed the coordinated attacks with professional horror. The Separatists and Decepticons had forced the Republic-Earth alliance to make impossible choices: save Geneva from pandemic or save 6 cities from conventional attack. They'd nearly broken the alliance through that single strategic maneuver. "We can't fight wars on multiple fronts like this," General Webb stated in an emergency Pentagon briefing. "The enemy has superior mobility, superior weapons, and they're willing to use tactics we'd consider war crimes. Every engagement, we're reacting to their initiatives instead of dictating our own terms." "Then we need to shift from reactive to proactive," Commander Cody suggested, the clone officer having earned respect from human military leadership through repeated demonstrations of tactical excellence. "Stop waiting for the Separatists to attack. Start hunting their bases, their resources, their infrastructure. Make them defend for once." "Do we know where their bases are?" CIA Director Reynolds asked. "Some," Obi-Wan confirmed, having recovered enough from the Tokyo battle to attend. "Roland has been analyzing Separatist communication patterns. We've identified 3 major facilities: one in the Amazon rainforest, one in the Siberian tundra, one in the Sahara Desert. Each one is a forward operating base supporting their Earth operations." "Then we hit them," President Morrison decided. "Simultaneously, maximum force. Show the Separatists that Earth isn't just defending, we're taking the fight to them." "Mr. President," Admiral Yularen's hologram interjected with military caution, "such operations will require significant resources: clone battalions, Jedi leadership, Autobot support. We'd be committing everything to offensive action, which leaves Earth's cities vulnerable if the Decepticons attack during the operation." "Then we make sure they can't," Morrison replied. "How many Autobots do we have total on Earth?" 47. "Operational," Optimus reported, having joined the briefing despite his damaged state, though many are recovering from the 6-city defense. "And Decepticons?" "Estimated 63, Soundwave's intercepted communications suggest, but they're scattered. Megatron is wounded. Their logistics are strained. If we strike now, before they can consolidate, we have advantage." "Then this is the moment," Morrison stated, looking around the room at faces representing multiple species and civilizations. "We hit their bases. We destroy their infrastructure. We show them that Earth isn't prey. It's a planet that fights back. All in favor." Every hand raised, every hologram confirmed. The decision was unanimous. Operation Thunderstrike was authorized. 3 simultaneous assaults on Separatist forward bases designed to cripple their Earth operations and shift the war's momentum. But while the military planned their offensive, the political consequences of Geneva's biological attack were just beginning to emerge. Across the world, people who'd been ambivalent about the alien presence now demanded action. The Separatists had deployed a weapon designed to exterminate humanity, not conquer, not subjugate, but exterminate. That removed any moral ambiguity about the war. "They tried to kill us all," a survivor from Geneva testified before the UN General Assembly, her body still weak from viral damage despite Republic medical treatment. "Not soldiers, not governments, all of us. Children, elderly, everyone. The Republic saved us. The Autobots defended our cities while Jedi healers purged the virus. Without them, I'd be dead. My family would be dead. Everyone I know would be dead. So when people ask if we should trust aliens, I ask, do you trust the ones who tried to exterminate us or the ones who saved us? The testimony went viral. Literal billions watched an ordinary woman explain in simple terms what the war meant. Extinction versus survival, slavery versus freedom, the separatists and Decepticons versus everyone else. Public opinion shifted decisively. Support for the Republic Autobot Alliance just hit 78% globally, a White House pollster reported to Morrison. Opposition has collapsed. Geneva changed everything. Good, Morrison replied, though the word felt hollow. 20,000 dead to create political consensus. The price was obscene, but it was paid, and now Earth would make the separatists pay in return. 3 days after Geneva, Operation Thunderstrike launched. In the Amazon, Jedi Master Plo Koon led the 104th Battalion, clone troopers nicknamed Wolfpack, in assault on a separatist base hidden beneath rainforest canopy. LA-8 gunships descended through the jungle with precision that made environmental scientists weep, their sensors identifying every tree, every animal, every innocent thing to avoid while targeting the enemy facility with lethal accuracy. All units, this is Master Koon, Plo's distinctive voice carried across clone helmet comms. The separatists chose this location because they believed the jungle would provide cover. They were wrong. We've fought in worse terrain across the galaxy. This is just another battlefield. Show them what the Wolfpack can do. Clone troopers deployed via jetpack, technology the Republic had given to Earth's special forces, but refined to perfection in clone operations. They descended through the canopy like ghosts, their weapons finding targets with accuracy that came from genetic enhancement and lifetime training. Contact, Commander Wolf reported, his distinctive cybernetic eye identifying battle droids through jungle cover human soldiers would have found impenetrable. Hostiles at grid reference 773, B1s and B2s, engaging. The jungle erupted with blaster fire, but this time Earth forces fought too. Brazilian special forces trained by clones and equipped with Republic weapons flanked the separatist position while Wolfpack provided suppressive fire. They moved with coordination that weeks ago would have been impossible. "This is incredible," a Brazilian captain muttered, watching clones clear positions with efficiency that exceeded anything Special Forces training had prepared him for. "They fight like every movement has been rehearsed 1,000 times. "Because it has," Wolf replied, overhearing through his helmet's external audio. "Clones train from emergence. By the time we deploy, we've run every scenario, every tactic, every maneuver until it's muscle memory. You fight well, Captain, but you're still learning what we were born knowing." It wasn't arrogance, just fact. And the Brazilian captain accepted it because the clones proved it every moment. In Siberia, Anakin Skywalker led the assault with typical aggressive directness that made tactical officers nervous and combat soldiers love him. "We're not sneaking in," Anakin announced to the combined force of 501st clones and Russian Spetsnaz. "We're not playing cautious. The separatists want to fight. We'll give them one they'll never forget. Straight up the middle, maximum aggression. Overwhelm them before they can coordinate defense." "General, that's tactically unsound," Captain Rex cautioned. "The base has heavy defenses, droidicas, artillery emplacements. Going straight in means taking casualties we could avoid with flanking maneuvers. Or it means hitting so hard and fast, they never get those defenses operational," Anakin countered. "Rex, trust me, I've done this before." "That's what concerns me, sir," Rex muttered, but he gave the order anyway. Because for all Anakin's recklessness, it usually worked. The assault was exactly as advertised: aggressive, direct, and absolutely devastating. Anakin led from the front with his lightsaber carving through droids, while clone troopers and Spetsnaz provided supporting fire. The Separatists had prepared for cautious approach, defensive maneuvering, tactical patience. They got none of it. They got Anakin Skywalker at full fury, and it was overwhelming. "Droidekas deploying!" a clone called out. "I've got them," Anakin replied, using force push to topple the destroyer droids before their shields could activate. Vulnerable on their backs, they were easy targets for concentrated blaster fire. "Artillery positioning." "Not for long," Anakin stated, throwing his lightsaber like a guided missile. The blade spun through the air, severed the artillery's power couplings, and returned to his hand. The maneuver was flashy, dangerous, and completely effective. "Sir, you're insane," a Spetsnaz operator observed with professional respect. "I've been told that before," Anakin replied, grinning beneath his exhaustion. "But it works. That's what matters." In the Sahara, Obi-Wan Kenobi demonstrated why patience and precision often achieved more than aggression and flash. His assault team, 212th Battalion under Commander Cody, British SAS and French Foreign Legion, surrounded the Separatist base and waited. Just waited for hours, until the droids' patrol patterns became predictable, until shift changes created brief windows of vulnerability, until Obi-Wan had mapped every defensive position through force observation and clone reconnaissance. "Master Kenobi, we've been sitting here for 8 hours, a French Legion officer complained. "When do we attack?" "When the moment is right," Obi-Wan replied calmly. "Wars aren't won by rushing into prepared defenses. They're won by patience that makes enemies careless." Another hour passed. Then Obi-Wan sensed it. The shift change. For exactly 90 seconds, droid coverage would have gaps. Small gaps, but enough. Now, Obi-Wan stated simply, the assault was surgical. Teams moved through the gaps Obi-Wan had identified, eliminating sentries before they could sound alarms. Clone demolition experts placed charges on critical infrastructure with precision that came from thousands of similar operations. And by the time the Separatists realized they were under attack, it was too late. The base's reactor exploded from internal sabotage. Secondary explosions tore through droid manufacturing facilities, and the entire complex collapsed into the desert sand within minutes. 0 friendly casualties, complete facility destruction. Textbook operation executed with Jedi precision and clone expertise. "That's how you win wars," Obi-Wan observed to the awed human special forces. "Not through reckless courage or overwhelming force, though both have their place. Through patience, planning, and executing at the exact moment when success becomes inevitable rather than probable." 3 bases destroyed simultaneously. Separatist Earth operations crippled. The message sent, Earth fights back. In orbit, Count Dooku received the casualty reports with aristocratic calm that masked growing concern. 3 forward bases gone. Thousands of droids destroyed. Months of logistics preparation wasted. The humans are learning too quickly, Dooku observed to Megatron during their next coordination. "We've underestimated their adaptation rate. Given Republic training and equipment, they're becoming legitimate threats rather than primitives to be conquered." "Then we escalate," Megatron replied, his damaged arm still regenerating. "No more half measures, no more testing them. We hit Earth's cities directly. Orbital bombardment, extinction-level force. If they want war, we'll give them war that makes their historical conflicts look like skirmishes. That risks drawing Republic capital ships into direct engagement," Dooku warned. "Their star destroyers outmatch our frigates in direct combat." Then we ensure they can't respond in time. Megatron stated coldly. Strike without warning, multiple targets simultaneously, force them to choose which cities to save, and while they're deciding, we glass half the planet. The plan was set, the escalation was coming, and humanity had 72 hours before learning that winning battles meant nothing when the enemy was willing to destroy entire worlds.